So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Fell in Love with Female Kyuubi. So let's start the series. Naruto Uzumaki, a young genin that is thought to be a dead last by most of the population of Konoha, he wears a bright, kill-me orange jumpsuit, along with his tan skin, 3 whisker birthmarks on each cheek and his bright spiky hair. He was very noticeable, to begin with. However, moving away from that, this young boy was not wearing what some dubbed his favorite outfit. He was wearing the orange jacket but it on his shoulders. He wore a black t-shirt with an orange swirl on the chest and camo green shorts with no shoes. He was staring out his window. The darkness of the setting sun made him feel numb. With every second it inched closer to the horizon until it disappeared and the moon returned to light the night along with its hundreds of million tiny companions. He moved away from his window and exited his room, all his valuables safely hidden inside the ceiling scrolls in his pants. He walked around his nearly empty apartment building, avoiding the manager's door completely. He didn't want the old bitch to start wailing again, and he wasn't sure if he could handle not violently killing her if he didn't get what he needed. He went the second floor of the apartment and knocked twice on a door labeled 2A, and it opened to show a slightly taller girl with bluish-black hair. She gestured for him to come in and he did as he kicked the door shut behind him as they strolled across her apartment. "So Naruto, are you ready to drop you fake mask of stupidity?" she asked as she poured him a drink. "Maybe," he uttered, taking it. "Fine, be beaten by the walking forehead and thought to be lower than the limp-dick Uchiha and dog-humping Heikate," she spat, fixing herself her own drink. Naruto only responded with an uprising of his eyebrow. "Just kidding," she said, looking at him downing her drink. "Good," he purred, pulling her into a kiss, his drink forgotten on the counter. The pair then collapsed on the bed, as she laid down on top of him as he pulled out a box of cigarettes from under the bed, placing one in his mouth and passed one to the girl resting on his chest. He then lit both of them with his finger and then cancelled it as he slightly thanked the fox for his new affinity for his new fire element. Oh yes, Naruto knew who the fox was. She was very surprised to see his container who had not quite lived up to his expectations. The fox thought the mask he wore was real, but in reality, it wasn't. He was surprised but smiled at the boy in front of him, as they were both victims of unfortunate circumstances, so he let have one thing that was in his power to grant behind bars of his jail. Naruto wanted an affinity for the element of fire, of which he got. He used it out of range when no one was there or downtown, where no one is a snitch. Those who snitched always paid the price. The last one was hung with his own intestines. The Hokage still didn't know who did it, but it scared all of the people who lived in the residential areas, which made Naruto and downtown citizens laugh for weeks on end. Naruto leaned on his side of her bed and said, "It's time already." The girl sighed and said, "Fine, I could use a drink anyway." Naruto smirked at her as she stood up and went to the shower. As he watched her walk, some of his cum dripping down her legs as he listened to the shower run. The girl, whose name is Rika, read, and he had known her since he was 9, and they have been screwing each other a year later. She quickly got out and he took a shower, then got dressed and left the apartment. The pair traveled by rooftop until they reached their destination, a club that welcomed them both with open arms. The pair entered and swung around grabbing drinks along the way. The way of the ninja is dangerous and doesn't have many benefits if you live in the so-called nice streets of Konoha, but in the nitty-gritty parts of downtown is where all the fun is. Pinky and the Uchiha wouldn't last 10 minutes here without wanting to kill themselves. Thank God, I'm entirely stupid, as I pretend to be, Naruto thought. He looked up at the people dance and fucking on the dance floor, stripping off clothes with every movement. The cages above them were hookers that used to be former ninjas, danced along with the beat of the music, barely having any clothes, sweat dripping off their bodies as they moved to the beat of the crowd below them until the music stopped. A party crasher was found and he was kicking and screaming for the guards to let him go. However, he spotted Naruto sitting in a corner and tried rallying enemies against him, but that only made them smirk. One of them called Naruto over, to which he downed his drink and walked over to the center of the circle. A dark smirk lit up the man's face as he thought the demon was going to get it, but the people surrounding him didn't start attacking the blonde-haired genin. "What the hell is wrong with you people? The demon is right there, get him." A sharp-sounding smack echoed through the club as the man's head was forced to the side. A woman, that wore only her panties and her fur-lined robe, who goes by the name of the Moon, had her hand outstretched before she allowed it to fall to her side. "Demon, huh?" Naruto, sweetie? Yes, my lovely moon. Teach this slimeball what it really means to be a demon. Naruto got a wide blood-curdling smirk on his face and he bowed to her saying, of course, my fair lady. Naruto then started to beat the shit out of him, breaking all of his limbs before ripping out his tongue, tossing it into the crowd as they cheered and one of them caught it. Much their amusement as Naruto finished by tearing him muscles to ribbons. After which, he was strung up from the ropes above the dance floor and the party continued like it never ended. The Crasher's blood dripping down to the people on the dance floor only added to the heat of the moment as people went about drowning in their vices. However, the party ended and guards took the still barely alive body of the Crasher. Before disappearing, Naruto and Rika then bowed to the fair lady who curtsied in return. The pair vanished as the dawn was going to come soon. The pair made it back to their shitty apartment and unfortunately their bitchy old manager was up and waiting for them with her hard cane. Demon whore, she spat. Whatever bitch, move, Naruto said, not in the mood to use his mask and take her shit. The old woman was about to hit him with her cane until Rika used a simple knock-out trick with a single touch of her finger. The old woman fell to the ground in a heap. The pair looked at each other and nodded. They tossed her ass into a dumpster and locked it with all the stuff they didn't want as they helped themselves to all of her stuff. Naruto and Rika counted the money they got from her vault, to which she conveniently left open. The night was over and the pair went to their rooms. They changed. Naruto had 2 rooms, a fake room that the villagers trashed and his real room that was across from Rika's. He went inside and grabbed a cigarette from the cabinet and lit it. He breathed in the smoke as it made his mind hazy. As he finished with it, he put it out on his window sill and threw it down into the street. He no longer had to wear his pathetic mask and deal with Team 7's bullshit, and besides today's the day for the Chunin exams to start and he couldn't wait until he ripped out somebody's spine. He has grown to have a massive bloodlust over the years and he couldn't wait to fight. Naruto closed his eyes and let sleep take over. The dream of the blood-splattered streets of Konoha filling his mind, made him unconsciously smile. Soon it would be nearing 10 o'clock. I don't know when the Chunin exams take place. And Naruto got ready, not wearing his orange jumpsuit, but a pair of camo pants, a black top with dark green gloves and ninja shoes. He had his headband around his neck and knocked on Rika's door and she stood in front of him in a fishnet shirt with leggings and female ninja boots that went up to her knees and a black sash on her waist. Ready? Ready. The pair left the apartment and then they went their separate ways. Naruto arrived at the academy and Sasuke blinked twice at the upcoming genin nearing them, until his eyes widened. He wouldn't believe that he was Naruto until he saw his spiky blonde hair and whiskered cheeks. And Naruto? Sakura stuttered. Dobe? Sasuke asked. Naruto just looked at the two, silently directed his head towards the academy and went towards the door. Ready? Ready. The pair left the apartment and then they went their separate ways. Naruto arrived at the academy and Sasuke blinked twice at the upcoming genin nearing them, until his eyes widened. He wouldn't believe that he was Naruto until he saw his spiky blonde hair and whiskered cheeks. And Naruto? Sakura stuttered. Dobe? Sasuke asked. Naruto just looked at the two, nodded his head towards the academy and went towards the door. Present. Naruto entered the academy and the ninja wanting to enter the room where they will be testing, and he knew that Sasuke would spoil the surprise for everyone else and he wanted to be in the hall away from him when he does. The two bums finally moved their asses inside and they searched inside for the weird teammate. However, Sasuke went through he found the door and everyone passed through. Then Sasuke getting his ass kicked by Lee and the getting tormented by the evil sun genjutsu until they finally made it to the door. Took you fuckers long enough. Baka. You could've what? Wait for your slow ass. No thanks, we need to get up there before they lock us out. Sasuke and Sakura were about to make a comment, but Naruto was already inside the room. They were going to have words with him when they get the chance. The pair entered inside the room and it was filled with many genin. Some were already sending out killing intent to the newcomers. Soon, they found Naruto and he was talking with Hinata. They walked towards him and heard slight bits of their conversation. You know, you really should not let your cousin get to you, that Hinata. She let a slight smile slip on her face. Don't hold back anymore. I don't plan to. Good. Dobe, what are you talking about? Sasuke said, crossing his arms. None of your concern, Uchiha, Naruto stated blankly. What the he? Excuse me, a voice interrupted. You're being too loud and I don't the other contestants appreciate that, the silver-haired boy said, pointing at the people glaring at the group. Sakura gulped and Sasuke HN. And who are you supposed to be? My name is Kabuto and that's all you need to know for now. Is this your second time? Sakura asked, while Ino was sneaking up on Sasuke only latch onto his back. Actually, no, this is my 9th time, he replied. So, that means you suck then, Kiba answered, over the fangirls pulling and squealing over the Uchiha. No, it means I have information, he said, holding up a deck of cards. I want information on Gaara of the Sands and Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke said, shocking everyone. Sasuke-kun, why do you want information on that baka? Don't question me, Sakura. Yes, I'm sorry, HN. Ah, you know their names, that takes the fun out of it, Kabuto said, shuffling his deck of cards. Ah, here it is, Gaara of the Sands, he has been on 20 D rank, 15 C rank, 1 B rank and 3 A rank missions, he supposed finished all of them without a scratch. Sasuke glanced at the red Sunanin leaning against the wall across the room, he didn't even spare a glance in his direction, but when his eyes went towards Naruto, his eyes widened a fraction of an inch. Naruto stared at Gaara from the corner of his eyes and let his blue eyes flash red for a second, which made grin flash on his face. Before it disappeared and Sasuke's back was turned to Naruto so he didn't see his eyes change. Now, Naruto Uzumaki. Ha, I bet the stats are low, Ino pig? I can't disagree with you there, forehead. Will you bitches can it? Naruto sneered at them. They gasped and they were about to go on a rant, until Kiba yelled at them to shut up, he wanted to hear about Naruto's stats. Kabuto put chakra into the card and as he looked at the information, his eyes widened. No way, but aren't you supposed to be the dead last, how can you have that title? What title? Sasuke all but yelled. He snatched the card out of Kabuto's hand and was about to read the card, but a blue flame surrounded the card, making him drop it onto the floor where it burned to ash. When the group looked at Naruto, he hadn't moved from his position, but his eyes were smoldering and he was staring at Kabuto, pinning him to his seat. A flash later, he was sent to the floor, his glasses broken and vomiting. Naruto practically bitch-smacked the girl who was behind him into the wall and the sickening crack that came after made everyone know she was not getting up. Kin! The bandage-covered Nin yelled. Then a wet stabbing noise filled the silence and the bandaged wrapped Nin was on the floor, bleeding. Rika, Naruto said. A shark-like grin stretched her cheeks as she shrugged her shoulders, holding the bloody kunai. Soon an explosion brought everyone's attention to the front of the room. A scarred Nin wearing a bandana appeared and said, "Shut the fuck up, you brats. You two, why are there 2 dead genin in the room? They attacked first without warning, I just defended myself and so did she," Naruto said, pointing at the black-haired girl next to him. "It's not our fault they're more weak than they look," Rika shrugged. "Very well, you sound Nin, leave the room, you are disqualified." "What?" "But," Rika kicked him out of the room, which so happened to knock him out of the door. "Everyone take your seats." Everyone rushed to take a seat and seeing how the scarred Nin was not one to be tested. "Alright, now is the time for the first part of the exams, the written exam. Now, you only have 3 chances, you waste your chances, you are going to be tossed out on your ass. Now brats, get to it, everyone take your seats." Everyone rushed to take a seat and seeing how the scarred ninja was not one to be tested. "Alright, now is the time for the first part of the exams, the written exam. Now, you only have 3 chances, you waste your chances, you are going to be tossed out on your ass. Now brats, get to it, present." Everyone then went on penciling their answers through different methods of cheating, Gaara using his third eye, Tenten using her weapons and her mirrors to get the answers and giving them to Lee. Neji and Hinata using their bloodline, Sasuke getting his answers and disqualifying the people around him, Sakura used her brain to get the answers. Ino jacking the answers from her and giving the answers to Choji and Shikamaru barely trying, but knowing the answers, Naruto and Rita get the answers in their own unique ways. Naruto snatching the answers from other people and Rita doing the same. Soon the time for the 9 questions was finished and Ikibi said, "Pencils down, brats." The students did what they were told and waited. "Now, it's time for the 10th question, however if you choose to take the question you will risk your chance at promotion." The room was filled with silence, then it explodes with protests and screams of the potential Chunin. He let the screams keep up for a few moments before he unleashed light-killing intent to make the room quiet. Now, make your choice, take the question and fail or leave and try again next time, Kyuubi stated as he watched several give in to his threat and leave the room. Sakura was shaking and pale. She didn't want to deny Sasuke a chance at going to the next level. She couldn't give two shits about Naruto, though. She just hoped Sasuke would forgive her for this. She was going to raise her hand, but a loud smash stopped her. Haruno! Don't you dare raise that hand a damn inch higher. How pathetic are you for you to indulge in Scarface's threat? Do you think you are doing your emo lover boy a favor? Pull your head out of your ass and look at him, because I am damn sure he'll throttle your ass the second we left the room because of your pathetic cowardice. How about you grow a fucking spine and get the hell out of your comfort zone, or I am going to break both your arms and drag your ass out myself. Naruto snarled. Sakura shakily put her hand down as tears ran down her face in the middle of his rant. This is not Naruto, he would never talk to me like that. We're the lost puppy who would cheer me up and support me when Sasuke would politely refuse my affections? She thought to herself. Inner Sakura had nothing to say as she was in shock at Naruto standing up and tearing them to pieces. She looked at Sasuke, who was darkly glaring at her with an unspoken threat. Screw this up, I will never forgive you and I will make you pay. Sakura put her head down and didn't look at anyone. Kyuubi looked at the blonde genin with a slight hint of respect. Everyone needed a good tongue lashing to get their asses moving now and again. Apparently there is more to the dead last of the rookie 9, Kyuubi thought. Anyone else? Kyuubi asked. No one moved an inch, and then Kyuubi said that those who remained passed. The several people of the rookie 9 looked shocked at the words that spilled out of Naruto's mouth. The Naruto they knew would never curse out his precious Sakura. Good, those that remain you pass. What? Several people shouted out. Smash! The sexy and single Anko Mirashire is here. Anko yelled, posing in front of the group of teams of potential Chunin. The room was silent. Anko looked around and saw many teams still left. Kyuubi, you're losing your touch, so many teams are left. No, Anko, it's not me, asked the blonde genin who tore into one of his teammates. Really? Anko said, eyeing the Kyuubi container. Oh, well, don't care, alright, brats, it's time for you the second part of the exam and it will be in training ground 44, if you are not there in 5 minutes, you are disqualified. Now get to it, Anko finished. Jumping out of the hole she made in the wall. Naruto inclined his head to the wall to Rita, who caught it along with Hinata, Shikamaru, and Shino. They informed their teams and they all raced to the training ground, found themselves in front of a wired gate, and some teams who didn't get there on time were knocked unconscious when they failed to arrive at the area, considering that they got lost or they were spies from other villages that were disposed of. Okay brats, now I will give you these. What are they? A random genin asked. Some of the genin frowned at her language, but everyone signed the paper. Good, now that it is out of the way, this, she gestured to the massive dark forest behind her, is the forest of death. Doesn't sound too scary, Kiba stated. A kunai grazed his cheek, causing a crimson line of blood to appear as a cold kunai touched his Adam's apple, making Akamaru whimper and Kiba to freeze. Confident, arrogant brats like you always have the blood I like to taste. I hope when you enter, you spill more of your pretty blood for me, Anko stated as she licked the kunai. A shudder ran through the group, but then Anko straightened her stance and creepy feeling made her head snap back to look at a genin with a long tongue holding her kunai. Oh, well thank you, Anko said, grabbing the kunai from the long-tongued genin, that made her smirk at the pale skin of the surrounding genin. Naruto just looked at Ninja with a disinterested stare, but inside he was grinning, telling Kyuubi that he smelled snake and that he wanted it, Kyuubi agreeing with him, along with a whole lot of bloodshed as well. Anyways, let's move on. You will all take one scroll, either a heaven or an earth scroll. It is your job to make sure that you get the other scroll. You have 5 days to get them and head to the tower. What about food? Choji asked. There are many things that can be eaten in the forest, and they can eat you as well. Choji turned pale but remained silent. Alright, it's time for you brats to enter. Just remember, try not to die. She slammed down a button that simultaneously opened the forest doors and the teams raced through them. Some will make it to the end, others may not. We will just have to see, won't we? Naruto entered with his team and we find them running forward with Sasuke glaring daggers into Naruto's back. Uchiha, if you something to say, then say it, Naruto stated, not once looking back. Sasuke then stopped and stood at the trunk of the tree with Sakura right next to him and Naruto stood in front of him crossing his arms. You can drop the act, Dobe, you have things to answer for. And what would I have to answer for, Uchiha? Me not giving any shits about you or your sidekick. What the hell is your problem? You've got problems and you have caused nothing but holding me and Sasuke-kun back. I wouldn't be talking, considering you almost got your precious Uchiha disqualified, which made her flinch, but she continued to glare at the blonde aloof genin. Can we finish this stupid conversation later? We have to get the damn scroll and reach the tower. If you want to continue to bitch at me, then let me have it and getting off your chest, emo boy, so we can move on, Naruto stated, crossing his arms. Sasuke stared at him, then growled and shook his head and said, fine, the more important part is finding the scroll and then we will have words, Dobe. Whatever gets that massive log out of your ass you fuck yourself with and lets us move forward, I'm game, Naruto shrugged. The team then leave the area and as a pair of interested yellow eyes follow after them, as they traveled from tree to tree, suddenly a large snake appeared out of nowhere, snapping its fang into the tree trunk where the team barely left behind, lest they wished to be eaten. Uchiha, take your fangirl and go ahead, I've been bored and I want to play. Naru, leave him, let's go, he's a bother anyways, Sasuke interrupted and jumped away leaving Naruto behind, with Sakura trailing behind him seconds later. Such backstabbing idiots, oh well, it makes ripping their heads off much sweeter, Naruto said to himself. I wonder what Rita's doing now. He thought as he avoided another swipe from the massive snake. Said girl was away from her teammates and just killing a newbie genin team from the rock country. She got 2 scrolls, both heaven and earth, and put them in her ninja pouch and went to find her teammates and make it to the tower. With the Uchiha and his scream sidekick, they just left Naruto behind to face the massive snake and they focused on finding a scroll so they could pass this test and move on. But what Sasuke didn't know was that Naruto had the real scroll, a heaven scroll, and kept it sealed in his leg. The one Sasuke had was a paint bomb that would blind him and then a clone would pop up and would stomp on his crotch repeatedly. The pair of genin rested against a tree to catch their breath, however, a large gust of wind blew away Sakura, who landed on a tree branch away from Sasuke's position, safe and unconscious. Sasuke moved to a defensive position, but a dark, slimy voice whispered in his ear, "Hello, Sasuke-kun." Sasuke jumped forward and moved away from the creepy voice and found the genin with the long tongue appeared. Sasuke armed himself with a kunai and prepared himself. Who the hell are you and what do you want? A tight knot forming in the pit of his stomach. The strange genin licked his lips with his very long tongue and said, "You will find out when I get there." Sasuke couldn't help but gulp at the dark statement. "Hello, Sasuke-kun." Sasuke jumped forward and moved away from the creepy voice and found the genin with the long tongue appeared. Sasuke armed himself with a kunai and prepared himself. "Who the hell are you and what do you want?" A tight knot forming in the pit of his stomach. The strange genin licked his lips with his very long tongue and said, "You will find out when I get there." Sasuke couldn't help but gulp at the dark statement. Present. Naruto went through hand seals and his arms were covered in Kyuubi's chakra as he let the snake swallow him, letting the corrupting chakra burn and melt away the inside, making the snake trash around, hitting and break down trees in the general area, and it soon fell down with a thump, its flesh breaking down and melting a hole where Naruto stepped out of, covered in several snake guts. Not really appetizing, Kyuchan. Maybe not for you now, but you will get used to it, after you used my chakra so much and for so long that it is affecting your body structure. Can I still dash? Yes, Naruto-chan, you still can. Sweet. You need to find your awful teammates, you know. Can't we leave them to die? As much as I would love that, Naruto, wait until the third task, then slaughter everyone. Very well. Naruto went to find an earth scroll and find his team and soon stumbled upon a group of Kyuubi haters that followed in their teacher's footsteps of hating him. He hid in the shadows and waited, listening in on their conversation. Where do we start now? We need to find a heaven scroll first of all. What about the demon brat's team? No. Why? Because the Uchiha and the council woman's daughter is on that team. Damn it, maybe if we kill him we will be pardoned? They will promote the Uchiha anyways, plus the demon is an easy target. Oh, I'm easy, huh? Three heads snapped up to the trees to find the source of their conversation. You shouldn't really talk about someone behind their backs, they could be listening and planning your horrible demise. Get him. The three Kyuubi-hating genin went to attack him with their weapons, but Naruto beat back all of them. By the end of the fight, if you could call it that, they were all on the ground, beaten and Naruto without a scratch. You bastard. Come on, shithead, I've many insults but that is just weak, make better ones. Naruto snarled in reply. They went to attack him once more, but Naruto planted his fist into one of the genin's chests, created a sharp crack and loud scream erupted from his mouth along with spit and blood as he crumbled to the ground, clutching his chest as he tried to breathe before falling still forever. The genin looked at the blonde in shock and terror. This was not the boy that would help torment with their sensei. Where did the loud dead last that would shout he would be Hokage? Well, he has been dead at the age of 3. Naruto gave a shark-like smirk and cracked his knuckles menacingly that made their stomach well up in their throats. Blood-curdling screams lit up the forest, making shudders run up the spines of most of the genin in the forest. By the time Naruto was finished, the area was coated with blood and pieces of meat that could be considered body parts of several people. Well, if you could look close enough. He pocketed the earth scroll and went to find his teammates, if he could call them that. I wonder if Sasuke got the log taken out of his ass for another thing? Naruto thought as he traveled by tree, back to Sasuke. Oh, the pain. I'm sorry, not really. Sasuke was panting heavily, his clothes were torn and he has bruises over his arms and legs. The opponent in front of him was not even damaged and was taunting him with that damn tongue. He shuddered at what happened when got to close. Come on, Sasuke-kun, though the rookie of the year should be stronger than this. I guess standards of Konoha had fallen since your brother who is much better than you. Sasuke's sight went red at the bastard statement and went to attack him with fury, punches and kicks in rapid succession and managed to push him back, throwing kunai with ninja wire attached and managed to trap the creepy genin to the tree and bluntly hit him with a fire jutsu, finally managing to hear his death screams. Sasuke panted as he looked at the smoldering ball of flames and allowed himself to smirk. However, the flames cleared and Sasuke's eyes widened in disbelief. The tree was burnt but no dead body and he got caught in a tight unrelenting grip which made him pale to a pasty white. Sasuke-kun afterward, well, I will let your imaginations do the thinking for that. Some time later, Sasuke was propped up against the tree unconscious, his shirt torn open with bite marks his chest and stomach. His pants are still upright but the awkward way he shifted his position says something. Lastly, was a bite mark of a curse seal on his neck. As the genin now known as Orochimaru let the boy to his devices, he would come to him later. It has been too long since he has had someone who interested him so much. He flashed away and Sakura was roused from her unconscious state. She rubbed the sleep from her eyes but then recognized she was in the middle of the second part of the Chunin exams and she rushed to find her beloved Sasuke. Soon she was able to find her beloved and was barely able to stifle a scream at his appearance. She checked him over being very touchy in handling him and was able to bandage several bruises and bite marks. She didn't know what to think of the curse seal on his neck but was able to get them to lower ground along with why his ass cheeks are so red. Sakura placed traps around the surrounding area and armed herself with a kunai guarding her love. Naruto, on the other hand, went to go find his team so he could leave. He wondered if Sakura died, though. Later on, he found his team. Sasuke was in the cave. His scent was very heavy considering he smelled sweat. Sakura was guarding him with a kunai looking a bit fearful. Naruto jumped down and Sakura threw a kunai at him, but Naruto caught it between his fingers and moved into Sakura's line of sight. She opened her mouth to berate him, but Naruto made the motion of zipping his lips and Sakura could feel her lips fail her. Listen Pinky, I don't care. I got a scroll, don't ask how I got it, I won't tell. We need to get the Uchiha and get to the tower, do you understand? She nodded, walked into the cave and grabbed a hold of the Uchiha's collar, knowing it would piss Sakura off and jumped up towards the tree with surprising speed, making Sakura struggle to keep up with him. Soon the team arrived at the tower, with Naruto dropping Sasuke in a heap on the ground and took out 2 scrolls. He opened them and threw them on the floor, smoke appeared and out came Iruka. I see you all made it. What happened to Sasuke? Apparently he is ill, Naruto said, plainly. He didn't really care, but the scent of his blood was unnerving and a certain something that made him flinch but placed out of his mind. Iruka took Sasuke with him but told the story of earth and heaven, Naruto went on his way and Sakura went inside the tower, then arrived on the third day. The team has 2 days to rest before the third exam. Soon it was time for the third exam. Sasuke had his curse sealed by Kakashi, who put his unwavering faith in him that he wouldn't fall to the darkness. All the Konoha's team made it, Tsuna's, and Kabuto who quit. You all know the scene. Sakura vs Rika. Sakura thought it would be an easy match. Rika knew she was going to be annoyed at the end of this. Everyone left the stage, besides those called out and said, "Are you ready?" Sakura replied yes, while Rika just nodded, not even interested in getting into a stance for Pinky, which irritated her to no end. Fight! Sakura thought it would be an easy match. Rika knew she was going to be annoyed at the end of this. Everyone left the stage, besides those called out and said, "Are you ready?" Sakura replied yes, while Rika just nodded, not even getting into a stance for Pinky, which irritated her to no end. Fight! Present! Sakura tried to taunt her but Rika just stared her down, which unnerved her. After seeing her taunts wouldn't work, she tried to punch her with her fist that always made Naruto wallow in pain. Rika did nothing but allowed her to come close to before catching her fist, which shocked Sakura still, and Rika tossed her away from her. Back in the stands, Naruto felt like this was going on forever and he was seconds away from maiming Sakura for his own enjoyment. Several others were really anxious to see the battle end, as she was an embarrassment to female ninja everywhere. Anko was being restrained from throwing a kunai at the pathetic girl below. Oh, for the love of fuck, Rika. Everyone knows the outcome of this match, already. Finish her off. Naruto snapped, making Kakashi look at him in shock. Isn't Sakura his crush? Kakashi, Kurenai, and many others, though. Fine, you bastard, I want a reward later, though. If you make it bloody then I will. Rika shrugged and Sakura gasped. Several people of the Rookie 9 stared at Naruto like he's grown a second head. What? Don't tell you all weren't thinking the same thing, Naruto said. Sakura's face turned red from anger and was about to shout, but avoided the kunai that was tossed lazily in her direction. Rika decided she wasted enough time and went to beat the shit out of her. She punched Sakura's face, throwing her back a few feet on her butt, and she followed her punch with stomping her foot into her stomach, causing her to cough up blood. Rika then took the time of beating Sakura black and blue, her screams and pleas of mercy doing nothing to deter Rika from her objective of getting a reward. Naruto smirked as he watched the pink bitch get destroyed. Hinata hid her mouth behind her hand, but she was laughing her ass off inside. Shikamaru was hiding his glee under his bored facade. He was a bit on the dark side since he connected more to the shadows and then most of his clan. Ino's jaw dropped as she was shocked at the brutality being dished out on her ex-best friend. Sasuke only quirked an eyebrow at his teammates' pain and squeals for help, but did nothing but watch. The civilians were horrified, the ninja and especially the female ninja nodded appreciatively. The Hokage was sad but the Kazekage was smirking behind his mask. After 5 more minutes of Sakura screaming, Rika punched her lights out, knocking her unconscious. Winner Rika Red. The reactions were mixed, to say the least. The ninjas mostly cheered, others were shocked at the brutality, others were disgusted by a small margin, the rest didn't give a shit, and others were in between. The medics took Sakura to the hospital for the severe ass whooping she got as Rika walked back upstairs. Gaara loved the smell of blood, even though it was weak blood, that his mother wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. But it was still blood, which made him give a tiny bit of respect for the girl. Maybe she could give her blood to his mother. He would have to wait and see, and he didn't like waiting. Kakashi was shocked at the damage done by his student. He glanced towards Naruto and was shocked to see him happily conversing with Rika, the one who literally destroyed his crush. He would have words with him later on about respecting your teammate's pot called the kettle black. Sasuke vs Lee. Can Rock Lee and Sasuke Uchiha come down to the arena? The exam protector said. The power genin walked down to the arena. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Rock Lee's choice of dress. It was a leotard, a full-body leotard with orange legwarmers. However, he could see how he walked. He was wearing weights, but how much was the real question. Both contestants ready? Sasuke crossed his arms. Yash. Lee saluted. Fight. Sasuke got into his Uchiha stance and his eyes flashed red. Rock Lee got into his own stance and prepared himself to be attacked. Sasuke started off, with flipping through familiar hand signs and made his massive fireball, all that was left was black, scorched ground, with Rock Lee nowhere to be found, but before Sasuke could smirk, he was kicked with full force into a wall, forcing him inside it, as Lee got into a fighting position waiting for the Uchiha to get back up. Said brooding boy snarled as he pulled himself out of the wall and went about attacking the green-suited boy, but to no avail. Sasuke may be trained by Kakashi with many ninjutsu under his belt copied, not mastered. It did not matter against Lee's speed taught by the hard work of Guy. The battle was interesting, to say the least, with everyone watching with bated breath. Sasuke was getting tired, all the attacks Lee forced on him were making him irritable and frustrated. He suddenly felt a dark, slimy feeling crawl from his neck, spread across his face. He clutched his shoulder with a yell, which made Lee stop to look at his opponent in shock. Half of Sasuke's face was covered in dark markings as foul chakra emitted from him in pulses in time with his heartbeat. You want power, don't you, boy? Sasuke felt a smirk split his face and he raced towards Lee with a surprising speed, managing to graze his stomach, but he avoided most of the damage. Naruto crossed his arms as he watched the scene below. Kyuubi loved the scent and feel of tainted chakra, and it showed in Naruto, and a large smirk on Gaara's face showed the same. Thank Kami for baggy ninja clothes, right? Lee did not let the unyouthful Sasuke get to him. He would win. He may be a dead last, but he would prove that a genius of hard work could defeat a prodigy. Sasuke became more spontaneous with his fire jutsus, but Lee's speed made it very difficult, even with his Sharingan, and it made him growl. The battle was long but worth watching. Sasuke tried to replicate Lee's signature move he saw at the academy but failed, tearing several muscles in the process. Lee looked at Sasuke with a blank look that mirrored Guy's, and it made Tenten look between the two with worry and made Neji quirk an eyebrow, but he could understand the blank looks they gave. They were both very upset with the move the Uchiha pulled off. Lee tensed his muscles. He didn't want to see his opponent standing upright anymore. He took off and went about kicking the shit out of Sasuke. Punches and kicks rained down on the emo boy, and Lee finished up his attack with a single kick that slammed half his body into the hard ground. He didn't get back up. Winner Rock Lee. Lee nodded and went back up to his team. Ino, and many civilian fangirls could not believe their prince didn't make it. Ino couldn't say anything because of the look Asuma was giving her, as if he knew what she was thinking and told her to keep it to herself. Shikamaru hid his smirk with a yawn, and Choji was neutral. He was peaceful, but thought that Sasuke did deserve that. Many other reactions were the same. Anko was laughing her ass off in her assigned booth, watching Kakashi and the medics pulled the Uchiha out of the ground, to kiss his bruised ego. Sarutobi shook his head at the scene while Orochimaru sighed at how pathetic his soon-to-be body is right now. At least he gets his ass. He knows he would follow him now. His pride was too damaged by getting his ass kicked by the dead last. And I can enter his dreams and twisted him to my own image, the Kazekage thought to himself with a leer as he thought back to the forest of death. Gaara only shook his head slightly but nodded at Uzumaki with a mad grin, which Naruto returned. A promise of a match in future was made, and it caused both the blood to boil underneath their skin. Naruto vs. Kiba. Can Naruto, Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka come down to the arena? Alright, Akamaru, we got the dobe. This will be easy. Kiba yelled, jumping down to the arena. Whatever you say, dog breath, Naruto said, waving to Rika and Hinata. Naruto jumped down and landed feet first unharmed. The two boys stood across from each other. Both contestants ready? Naruto nodded. Kiba barked out that he was ready along with Akamaru. Fight! Kiba was going to taunt him, but Naruto bitch slapped him away, throwing him back a few feet, and Akamaru stood in front of him in a protective manner, but Naruto emitted killing intent, which froze the dog. Kiba slowly got up but felt the killing intent Naruto emitted, and it made him shudder in his jacket. He could swear he saw a smirking fox grinning maliciously at him, which really made him want to piss his pants. He shook himself out of it and tossed a soldier pill to his companion, who ate it and turned a dark red, and soon there was another Kiba, and they worked to take Naruto down with their Fang over Fang technique. Naruto avoided the attack as it struck the dirt, kicking up dust, covering the area. Kiba snapped out of his technique and was about to launch another one, but a sharp crack sounded through the air, stopping him in tracks. The dust cleared, showing Naruto gripping a limp Kiba, but a plume of smoke appeared and showed a limp Akamaru, his neck twisted in an unnatural angle, drops of blood collecting into a puddle on the floor, as Kiba turned a pasty white. He screamed, the limp, unmoving form of his companion in Naruto's hand. He felt his heart snap in his chest and a cold hole formed in his chest, and then all Kiba saw was red. You bastard, you bastard! He snarled, his eyes wide and filled with rage. Naruto did nothing but a smile, tossing Akamaru's dead corpse away from him as Kiba charged at him. The battle was quick and brutal. Kiba and Naruto attacked each other with brutal efficiency. Claws, fists, and kicks were thrown. Some connected, others missed, and Naruto nailed Kiba with a brutal fist to the top of the head, smashing his face into the hard ground. Naruto had claw marks and several bruises that were already healing. Kiba was covered in bruises. He could already see some bones were broken and muscles were torn. He had to give Dog Boy credit. He put a good fight. The miserable look on his face was heavenly. After all, I guess he deserves a bit of hope after all. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto nodded but snapped his fingers. A clone of him was carrying a dog that was unconscious. The dead dog on the side was a clone. The clone carried the dog, so he laid next to his master. He hated Kiba but didn't hate Akamaru, who he liked much more. Naruto walked off, pulling a cigarette from his pocket, put it in his mouth, lit it and walked upstairs, leaning against the wall. Everyone stared at him, some in awe, others in slight respect at using a dirty trick, others in disgust, and many between. Sarutobi made a note to talk to him, and Orochimaru thought about having Naruto on his side. Sad that he couldn't have him as a body. Naruto resisted the urge to sneeze and felt a shudder run down his back but didn't know who was thinking about him. Neji vs Hinata. Can Neji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga come down to the arena? Neji looked at Hinata with a sneer and made his way down, while Hinata kept her head down, not looking at her teacher who had a worried look on her face, but Hinata brushed past her, not looking at her. Hinata made her way down and faced her cousin who was glaring at her. Both contestants ready? Neither Hyuga said anything. The protractor could only sigh, fight. However, before Neji could open his mouth, more likely to spit a taunt to derail Hinata, she rushed forward with a palm strike, making him move back to avoid it. This is not Hinata. She is supposed to be trembling, the weak girl he taunted for so long. Where is she? He inwardly snarled, as he parried her attacks. The battle was entirely of parrying, attacking chakra strikes and continuous moving. Kurenai was shocked at her student. Neji was strong in his own right, along with his hatred of Hinata made him an enemy, and Hinata should be struggling. What happened to her? Naruto quirked an eyebrow and slightly smiled. Hinata was far from weak, along with her own mask. The amount of hatred she hid behind those eyes of hers were extremely welcoming. Everyone was watching with interest as two cousins battled it out. Hayashi did not show his surprise and Hanabi let a bit of her shock show. This was not the sister she fought against and won. Neji was getting irritated and poured more chakra into his palm strikes trying to hit her, but Hinata kept avoiding, tapping his palms and his wrists in slight movements. Her chakra went unnoticed in his irritability, and soon Neji was able to land a hit on Hinata's stomach, pushing her away from him. She was still on her feet but knew she was going to have a bruise to last a while from his palm strike. He was about to attack again, but as he tried to channel chakra into his hands, they failed, causing him to gasp in shock. Hinata took to getting into a stance and said, "You are in range, Neji." Before unleashing her own attack, protective 8 trigrams 64 palms, creating an ultimate defense and offense. Hayashi didn't bother to hide his surprise then when he saw this. She made her own attack and defense? Maybe she is not so useless after all. Neji hit the ground with a thud, with shock plain across his face as he looked up at Hinata. There was no sense of victory on her face. It was plain like it was an everyday occurrence and she just didn't care. "Protractor, please call the match," she said, not taking her eyes off of Neji's prone form. Winner Hinata Hyuga. She quickly turned around and went up the stairs, not looking once at her cousin. She knew she would have a conversation with her father, but she didn't care right now. All the training she hid from her teacher and family was paying off and she would keep working at it. Naruto caught her eye and he winked in her direction, causing her to smile back. The scene was over before anyone could notice. Kurenai ran over to her and went into mother hen mode, checking her over, while Hinata didn't change her facial expression or answer any of her questions. Shino vs Kankuro. Can Shino Aburame and Kankuro of the desert come down to the arena? The pair went down to the arena, Kankuro unleashing the package on his back and Shino arming himself with his bugs crawling down the sleeves of his jacket. Both contestants ready? A silent nod from both. Fight! Both opponents were long-range opponents and people wondered how this battle was going to go. However, the battle ended was a surprise. Both opponents knocked each other out. Shino got poisoned with a non-lethal gas from a puppet that was broken from the inside, and Kankuro was knocked out because of the drain of chakra from Shino's insects. The pair was brought to the medical wing as the protractor announced there was no winner as both opponents are unconscious. Tenten vs Temari. Can Tenten and Temari of the desert come down to the arena? You all know what happens in the anime/manga. Tenten gets her ass kicked by Temari, covered in bruises, weapons littering the battleground. Tenten's back was on Temari's battle fan, and by the crack that resounded through the air, there had to be some broken bones. Winner, Temari of the desert. The medics came to get Tenten and take her to the hospital, and Temari caught Shikamaru's dark eyes and smirked in his direction. Shika only quirked an eyebrow at the blonde Tsunanin as she made her way to her brothers and sensei. Gaara vs Rika's teammate number 1. Can Gaara of the desert and Ace Valiant come down to the arena? Gaara flashed down with his sand and Ace walked down to the arena. Both contestants ready? A nod and nervous yes was his reply. Fight! The battle was over before it even begun. Gaara uncorked his sand and let it rush towards his opponent, wrap around him before he even had the chance to run or set up any sort of defense. His screams were muffled by the coarse sand as he raised a hand towards his trapped prey, made a fist and said, "Sand coffin," crushing the poor bastard in a shower of blood that seeped through the sand. The slightly bigger frown Gaara sported showed that neither he or his mother was pleased with the blood offered. Winner, Gaara of the desert. Some civilian watchers lost their meals at the brutal crushing of the genin. The Hokage closed his eyes quietly for a moment for the soul that passed to the next adventure. Gaara went back to his teammates/siblings, nodding at the large hidden grin Naruto flashed him at the bloody scene. Shikamaru vs Ino. Can Shikamaru Nara and Ino Yakama come down to the arena? The two teammates went down to arena. Shikamaru didn't say anything and Ino cracked her knuckles ready to fight. Both contestants ready? Yes. Troublesome. Fight! Ino went to rush at her teammate to beat him, like she usually did, but was held still, frozen still, but the look in eye changed from shock to frustrated understanding as she tried her best to move, but she could not move under her own power. Shikamaru made her back up near a wall and then leaned back hard and fast, making her bash her head against the wall behind her, knocking her unconscious, and then fell to the floor in a heap. Winner, Shikamaru Nara. He nodded, heaved Ino's prone form on his back and went back upstairs to place her against the wall. Shikamaru could only pray that Ino stayed unconscious for the rest of this exam. He did not want to listen to her rants. Choji vs Rika's teammate number 2. Can Choji Akimichi and Christopher Blue come down to the arena? The two called genin went down to the arena and faced each other. Both contestants ready? Yes. Humph. Fight! Choji got into a defense position as Christopher went to attack the husky genin and as unleashed a kick. It shocked Choji, surprising him as he jumped back, creating distance between the two of them. Christopher had the ability to steal chakra and shock his opponent and used the element of surprise on his opponent and went with brutal attacks, draining Choji of chakra, bringing him to his knees as he felt darkness close around him. Christopher took to insulting Choji as he felt his body shut down, but then said the word that Choji should not be called, fat. All the black surrounding Choji turned to red and anger seeped through his veins as he was able to stand up again, even with a deplete of chakra, and rushed at a speed unknown to the crowd and was able to slam a hard right fist into Christopher's face, smashing his face into the ground with hard cracks. Choji then fell into blissful unconsciousness with a smile. Christopher groaned, barely able to keep himself from falling unconscious. The force of the hit nearly knocked him out, but he survived it. Winner, Christopher Blue. Shikamaru made a mental note to beat the shit of the cocky genin. Can the winners of all their matches come down? Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga, Rika Red, Christopher Blue, Shikamaru Nara, Gaara of the Desert, Temari of the Desert, Rock Lee. These were the winners of the past matches. Your opponents for the next month will be Shikamaru Nara vs. Christopher Blue, Temari of the Desert vs. Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga vs. Rika Red, Gaara of the Desert vs. Rock Lee. Spend the next month preparing for your matches, as everyone looked at their opponents. All of you are dismissed, Gekko Hayate said. Your opponents for the next month will be Shikamaru Nara vs. Christopher Blue. Temari of the Desert vs. Naruto Uzumaki. Hinata Hyuga vs. Rika Red. Gaara of the Desert vs. Rock Lee. Spend the next month preparing for your matches, as everyone looked at their opponents. All of you are dismissed, Gecko Hayate said. Present. Everyone then left, but Hiruzen said, Naruto, can I talk to you in my office? Of course, Hokage-sama. Naruto flashed towards the Hokage's office and waited for the old man to make his appearance. He didn't have to wait too long, as the old man flashed inside and walked towards his chair and gestured for Naruto to come stand in front of him. After several moments of silence, Hiruzen started off, Do you have anything to say to me, Naruto-kun? That this meeting is concerning my strange behavior and how I am acting is an exact 180 from before, yes? Naruto. He raised a hand for him to stop and then brought it to his lips, gesturing for him to be quiet. Naruto then turned his attention towards the ceiling. Flicking his hand to the air and sound of metal hitting flesh was heard, before a body fell down on the floor with the kanji 4 root on the mask. Seems like Danzo can't keep his nose out of the official business of the Hokage, Naruto said, plainly, staring at the cooling corpse of the root ninja. Hiruzen looked at the boy he has considered a grandson. Naruto, can I ask you a question? Of course, old man. Who are you loyal to? I am loyal to the Hokage. To Konoha? No, to you alone. You know I can't be here forever, to which I am well aware. If I pass on soon, will still stay loyal to the village? Naruto didn't reply at the moment and Hiruzen said, Naruto-kun? Like I said, I am loyal to you. Many others don't have my trust considering that most of the people and several ninjas in this village either see me as a weapon, dead last, demon or an id, not as a person. Comrade or fellow ninja, however, if you have someone that can actually see me for me and they have your trust, then I will follow them. If Danzo gets the hat, I will be out of here faster than you can blink. I will not be placed under the War Hound's control. He nodded in reply. Hiruzen would not push anyone in Danzo's path. He could only sigh at how far his friend had fallen so far. I see, hopefully, the citizens earn your trust and respect back, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded back while thinking, not fucking likely old man, they would rather give their left testicle than apologizes to me, especially on that day. You've been this way for a long time, haven't you, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen stated as if repeating a fact. You truly deserve your title as God of Shinobi, Hokage-sama. Thank you, Naruto-kun. So, the boy I have known for so long. He's been dead since the age of 3, Hokage-sama. I couldn't handle the torment of that day and it made me snap. I kept up the appearance of a bubbly dead last for both protection for myself and to ease your worries about me, plus, it was a bit of fun, playing pretend, making it seem like I was a kid. The chance I could smile even if it was fake, just for a little while. Thank you, Naruto-kun, you are dismissed. Naruto nodded and flashed out of the office. Hiruzen turned around, his eyes misty as he looked at the pictures of the Hokage, especially the 4th Hokage, and thought, Minato, I am so sorry your son I have failed. Please forgive me for the sufferings your son has endured under my watch. I know I will be maimed by Kushina for this. He involuntarily shuddered at the image of the red-haired woman, cracking her knuckles. Naruto moved towards the hospital, where he got into an argument with the nurse at the front desk, until Naruto snapped, Listen, bitch, I don't give a shit about you and your deal against me. Tell where Hinata's room is in or else. Or else what, brat? The nurse quipped. Naruto didn't reply but let his blue eyes flicker red for a second with a slit pupil, startling the nurse that she nearly fell out of her chair. Our room 2-234, 5th door on the 2nd floor, you can't miss it. Naruto didn't acknowledge her with anything more than a nod and turned around to see a face he hoped not to see for a while. Hello, Naruto. Hey Kate. It's Kakashi-sensei, Naruto. When you actually teach the entire team and not just Sasuke and barely any training to the emo's fangirl, then I will call you sensei. If you are here to visit your prodigy, then go. I have to visit someone. Naruto walked past him, but he was stopped with a hand on his shoulder. Naruto, we need to talk. About what, exactly? About your behavior with your teammates. I wouldn't exactly say we are teammates. After all, Pinky barely does any training and fawns over the emo boy. You are hung up over the Uchiha and I am just me. If there was an award for most dysfunctional team, Team 7 would have that on lockdown. Now, can I go? He shrugged Kakashi's hand off his shoulder and left towards the elevator. Soon he reached Hinata's room where a conversation was taking place between the father and his eldest daughter. Inside room 234. Why have you been hiding these skills of yours? Tell me, father, if I tell you, will you have the branch members stay in my shadows for a duration of time until you are satisfied? Also, if you do, then why do you care now? You thought of me as a failure and refused to train me, constantly reminding me of my failures along with comparing myself to my younger sibling and older cousin. Why do my skills, which did not capture your attention before, catch it now? Please answer me, father. Hayashi could only look and try not to gap at the girl in front of him, and that was a stuttering mess in the morning. If you are not going to apply, I see this meeting has no point and I would like to rest in peace if you would please, so they doctors can do their jobs. Hayashi left without looking back, while the younger daughter looked back at her elder sibling with a strange look before leaving as well. Hinata sighed when the door closed. Only now, he acknowledges me when I completely surprise him by beating his prodigy. Now, he'll never leave me alone. I wouldn't be so sure about that, a voice stated. Naruto. The one and only, congrats on your match, he said, handing her a bouquet of flowers. Did you snag them from another? The thought counts, though. It truly does, she replied back, fingering one of the blue petals. How are things on your end? Several nosy people wanting to know why I have revealed my true self and skills. Considering that they didn't recognize anything wrong with you being a loudmouth supposed dead last after all the things they put on you, I am surprised you didn't kill anyone. The civilians who wander into the red light district help with cravings. I see, so, I am facing Rika. Apparently, no words of advice? Nope, both of you are plenty strong and that the match will hopefully make up for the shame of what Sakura and Ino did, considering they do not deserve to wear their headbands. Hinata nodded. What's the reward you are going to give Rika? Naruto's smile turned into a leer. Just something. Try not to break through the floor this time. He snorted back and pinched her cheek, getting a cute moan in return. No promises, hope you feel better. Thanks and good luck with your match. Of course, she's a wind user after all. Sure it will. Cheeky, he left after kissing her on the cheek he didn't pinch, leaving as soundless as he came. Demon, huh? The village made their graves, now they just have to lie in it, she thought to herself as a nurse came in with the supplies needed to heal her. Soon she came home, ignoring her clan members, and went off to do some light training. Naruto left and waited until nightfall, leaving Rika with a message to meet him at the club, named the Dark Cherry, and was already dressed and blended into the shadows. It was one of the first places that accepted Naruto for being himself, not having to pretend to be a dead last to save his own skin. They were scum and shadows of Konoha that the civilians didn't want to see. They let him in, sheltered him, and strengthened him. They were his pseudo-family, and it was only because of them that he didn't leave the village as soon as he was able to. He wore a pair of leather pants, a studded belt, and a sleeveless black tight wife beater. He nodded to the bartender and gave him several shots to drink. Soon his eyes came upon his target. Rika was wearing short shorts, showing off her ass and a crop top that was nearly transparent as she walked through the club. He came upon her almost immediately and led them to an empty lounge area that showed the crowd dancing below. He trapped her between his arms as she leaned against the rail. My, Naru, going to do it here, in front of all these people? Oh. You say that, but why are you rubbing against me? It's just you are so comfortable and sultry with your leather pants. Naruto chuckled and pressed himself against her, before crushing his lips against her own. Naruto and Rika fell on the broken couch, sweaty and satisfied, Rika beside him basking in the afterglow of their coupling. Soon the dawn arrived and everyone from inside the shadows left to rest for the next party. Everyone was training hard for the next month. Naruto couldn't wait. He had nothing against the Suna girl, though. She would interesting. That and Hinata will face Rika and they will hold nothing back. Shikamaru will be avenging Choji and told Rika that her teammate will pay. She shrugged her shoulders and told him he had him well to rights. Rock Lee was training in his speed and had help with some weapons, and he found something when training that could help defend against Gaara's crushing technique. The time for the second part of exams were upon us. Everyone filled the stadium and soon the first match, Hinata Hyuga vs. Rika Red. The two girls faced each other and looked at the Hay-8 to start to match. 2 weeks later, Naruto could be found stepping out ramen shop, waving bye to the ramen shop and his daughter, He pulled out a cigarette and lit it, letting the smoke fill his senses until a piercing shriek shattered his good mood. He saw Sakura, stomping her way towards him. Naruto pondered the thought of leaving her alone to vent her frustration on the ground below her, but he decided to crush her before the urge to kill her was prominent, considering that the Hokage never liked senseless violence and only a few close saves from being caught. Naruto baka. She snarled out. What is it, Haruno? You're smoking? You idiot, are you trying to act like Sasuke-kun? I'm trying to be like your emo, Sakura, what do you want? Unlike you people need to prepare for the exams. Have you seen, Sasuke-kun? No, I haven't seen your precious Uchiha. What the hell do I look like his keeper? If you are done bugging me, I'm leaving, Naruto said, turning his back. Don't you turn your back on me, baka. She raised her fist and made to smash it into his head, but Naruto moved, making her tumble into the ground. You baka. I spent hours fixing my outfit to make Sasuke fall for me. You are going to pay. Please, Haruno, I'm pretty sure the Uchiha wouldn't look at you unless you have a cock dangling between those anorexic legs of yours. How dare you? She tries to hit him several more times, but they were avoided until she started panting. Naruto blew out a puff of smoke in her face, causing her to cough and hack. Listen Haruno, I never loved you, I actually loathe your weak ass. You are the definition of weak, and if wasn't for all the 3 people on the team who actually train, then you would either die or be someone's bitch, he said, coldly. What? But the academy, all this time. That I loathe your damn existence, you weakling. I thought your massive forehead could actually have the ability to think. Sakura's eyes dulled and she stared up at the boy who shattered her view of the world. No, it's not true, he has a crush on me, he's always had a crush on me, I don't believe it. I won't believe it. She chuckled and looked at Naruto's bored face. I don't believe you, it's just another plot to get me to go on a date with you. So, she's delusional now? Apparently, it will be funny as fuck when she breaks out of her delusions, though. True. Whatever helps you sleep at night, go masturbate about the limp dick Uchiha, Haruno, and don't bug me again. Naruto then flashed out, leaving the pink-haired girl alone on the street. I don't buy your lies for a second, Naruto, you have been my loyal puppy since I have met you, and I'm going to remind you of your place underneath me. A malevolent Sakura thought as she trudged back to her house, plans running amok in her head. The time for the second part of the exams were upon us. Everyone filled the stadium and soon the first match. Everyone went to the box where the opponents who won their match from the last month. Sasuke actually arrived early with Kakashi at his side, sneering at the box where he should have been, but he smirked thinking he would have many new jutsu to snatch, especially from the dobe. Too bad for the Uchiha. Everyone inside the box remembered his match and how he copied the move from one of his own comrades, and they made sure to hide their hand signs or shadow themselves from the Uchiha using their abilities against them. Soon, it was time for the first match and Hinata and Rika went down to the arena. Can Rika Red and Hinata Hyuga come down to the arena? Hayato said. Present. Hinata Hyuga vs. Rika Red. The 2 girls faced each other and looked at Hayate to start the match. Hinata got into her own fighting stance and Rika got into her own, their chakra pouring out of their pores surrounding them. Both opponents ready? A sharp nod from both was his answer. Fight! He said, moving out of the way. The 2 stared at each for a second longer, then they rushed towards each other. Rika pulled out 2 kunais, slashing Hinata, who avoided it and tried to get into close range. Hinata was able to hit her hand but was shocked backwards when the chakra she forced in, rushed back out, burning her, causing her skin to turn a shade of red. You have to do better than that, Hinata, Rika said, tightening her gloves. Hinata made her chakra cover her hands and said, I plan to. The pair rushed forward once more, attacking each other. Chakra-enhanced weapons versus Hinata's chakra scalpel. Hinata struck Rika's stomach, causing her to spit out a glob of bile. Rika stuck with her enhanced kunai, causing a bleeding cut on her side. Chakra surrounded the 2 of them, but they made sure to keep their secrets hidden. The jutsu-stealing monkey with the red eyes and duck-butt hair was watching the 2 of them. Rika was then caught off guard when Hinata finally managed to disable her 2 of her 4 kunai, tossing them away from her. Rika punched the earth, causing a fissure, making Hinata lose her balance, which Rika took advantage from and punched her in the face. Hinata wiped the blood of her chin with her sleeve and managed to give a palm thrust to Rika's stomach, shocking her at the same time, making her twitch sporadically. Rika fell on one knee as her body shook and spasmed from the excess lightning. Cough, cough, a lightning element? You're full of surprises. I aim to please, don't tell me that's all you got. Not even close, she said, going to shortened hand signs that couldn't be copied, and yelled out, Fire Dragon's Roar. A large flash of flame came out of her mouth, forcing Hinata to move. Her blackened jacket was left on the scorched earth. She panted before returning into sight, only in her fishnet shirt and singed pants. So, that's why she wears the jacket, most of the genin and ninja thought. Hanabi looked wide-eyed at her sister. I wonder if mine will be like that. You aren't going to make this easy. Life never is, she said, gathering more chakra for one last attack. Of course not, Hinata said, gathering her chakra into her fist, creating a lion's head. Have at me, then, Rika said, fire covering her arms. The two rushed towards each other in a final charge, before striking out, hitting their opponent's solar plexus, forcing the opponent away from them, stirring up dust and rocks. Rika's attack burned away Hinata's fishnet shirt, showing a burning bruise on her stomach. Hinata's attack wore away Rika's shirt, showing a purpling bruise on her stomach and light bleeding. Both opponents coughed and hacked, struggling to get up, but their bodies, not heeding their commands. Hinata? Cough, what? She asked, struggling to keep her eyes open. You win, too much damage, I expect a rematch soon. Okay, just wait a couple weeks. Fine, Rika finally fell unconscious. Rika Red is able to continue, the winner is Hinata Hyuga. Cheers ran amongst the crowd above as Sasuke glared at the fainted Rika, for having a better fire jutsu than he did. I will find out how she did that move belongs to the Uchiha. It could help me kill Itachi. Naruto rushed down before anyone could do anything. He took Hinata into his arms, being careful not to jostle her so her wounds don't get any worse, and then he went towards the unconscious Rika. You were fantastic out there. Thanks Naruto-kun. You can sleep if you want. Why yes, she started to close her eyes and fell into the weary form of sleep. Naruto took Rika on his back and made his way towards the infirmary. Hayashi made his way down to take his daughter from the demon as Kakashi looked at Naruto, planning to have a talk with him. Hiruzen looked at Naruto with a sad smile. Even if doesn't like Konoha, at least he has people here who actually give him a chance. So, he's attached to those two girls. Orochimaru though, planning with the strange, malevolent Kyuubi container. Infirmary. Naruto took both girls and had a nurse, who actually did her damn job whenever he had to be brought to the hospital. She placed them on the hospital beds as the doctors took care of them. The nurse informed him that would awake within the hour, to which Naruto thanked her. Naruto flashed back to the stadium just seconds before Hayashi Speed walked down the hallway where he was at. He looked at his conscious daughter with interest, but at the same time deep inside of him, he was weeping for his daughter and for the state she was in, and he returned to his seat, looking as every bit of a cold heart as he was taught. Shikamaru Nara vs. Christopher Blue. Can Shikamaru Nara and Christopher Blue come down to the arena? Shikamaru went down to the arena as Christopher went down the other way, facing each other. When they arrived in the arena, both of them got into a ready stance and waited for the protractor to start the match. Both opponents ready? Fight! Christopher went to attack him, but Shikamaru caught him in his shadow. However, before he could pin him, Shikamaru felt his hold on Blue slipping away from him. He removed his shadow and made space between him and the chakra sucker. What's the matter? I thought you were going to knock me out. Isn't this battle for your fat friend who shouldn't even be a shinobi? He smirked. I wouldn't really be talking, you troublesome bastard, Shikamaru said, throwing a kunai, but he avoided it laughing. Is that all you got? Another kunai grazed his cheek and he made to avoid flying knives that were mostly aimed at lethal points. However, if you looked closely, you could see the thin, chakra wire attached to the kunais. When Shikamaru threw the last kunai hitting the ground, where it could have been lethal if stabbed, finally run out? Good, so now I can what? Christopher's footing was off from a fissure in the ground and Shikamaru's trap was sprung. The wires finally made their appearance, and latched onto Christopher, stabbing into his skin, pinning him in place. You bastard! He snarled, blood dripping down his limbs, the wires holding him in place. Shikamaru placed a kunai at his neck and said, surrender, now. Hayato made his appearance and called the match. Christopher Blue is not able to continue, Shikamaru Nara is the winner. The crowd cheered, and at the good match, Shikamaru went back to his team, who congratulated him, along with Ino, who was still a bit sore about her match with him. Christopher was taken to the infirmary as everyone waited for the next matchup. Temari of the Desert vs. Naruto Uzumaki. Can Temari of the Desert and Naruto Uzumaki come down to the arena? Now, it's my turn. Temari flew to the field on her fan, and Naruto jumped from the railing and landed safely on the ground. Both opponents ready? Hayato got a nod from both of them. Fight! He got out of the way, and Temari didn't take any chances and wrenched her fan to the side and went to blow a massive gust of wind in Naruto's direction, causing cracks in the earth. But Naruto avoided the attack and used the dust she stirred up to make several hand signs to make his jutsu that made her attack once more. Gusts of wind and pieces of earth rocked the stadium as the two wind users attacked each other. Sasuke grits his teeth as his eyes wide and twitching as he tried to search for Naruto and steal his jutsu. Sky Dragon Claw. He yelled. A claw of pure wind hit the side of the stadium, making a large gash appear beside the Hokage box. Holy shit! Kiba yelled. The trembling could be felt from where he stood, holding on to Akamaru. Naruto. I need to have him, or he needs to be eliminated, Orochimaru thought, nearly salivating at the thought of the jutsu he just witnessed. I need to end this. If that attack caught me, it would have ripped me to bloody chunks. Is that all you got, Sunanin? No. Wind release, wind cutter technique. The dust that hung in the air suddenly split from the slice of wind, releasing it into the air and making it disappear. Whistle impressive, he said, avoiding the slash, but, I'm going to wrap this up quickly. Naruto rushed towards her tired form, but before she could put up a decent defense and stabbed her side, causing her to fall unconscious in Naruto's arms. He looked at the examiner, who came down from his position. Temari of the Desert is not able to continue. The winner is Naruto Uzumaki. Several boos filled the stadium, but the clapping and cheers of others who cared more of Konoha winning or Naruto's choice of attacks, especially the large one near the Kage box. Danzo looked at Naruto with a critical eye along with several others. Kakashi was shocked and promised to find out how Naruto got that large attack, and Sasuke looked like he was about to pop a blood vessel. Sakura put the battle out of her mind. She still believed that Naruto was doing this for attention, but when he got on the second floor, he greeted Hinata and Rika, who came back from the infirmary, not sparing a glance at Sakura. Gaara of the Desert vs. Rock Lee. Can Gaara of the Desert and Rock Lee come down to the arena? Gaara appeared in the arena in a gust of sand, and Rock Lee jumped down. He wasn't in his green leotard. He took to heart when Gaara crushed his opponent to death. Mighty Guy called in a favor from a friend to teach his student how to protect himself from Gaara's crushing technique with his sand. It was armament hockey. It would protect him along with his speed. He could probably beat him. He wore a karate GI top with no sleeves and pants and ninja shoes, his ninja headband tied around his forehead. Both opponents ready? Gaara nodded, which Lee saluted. Fight! Hayate left the two to fight, and Lee went to attack first as Gaara crossed his arms waiting for the attack. Lee started to punch and kick, but every time he tried, Gaara's sand would prevent the attack from reaching. As Lee would speed up his attacks and had two pairs of kunais to cut away the sand Gaara started to attack him with, but Lee moved to get some space between him and his opponent. Lee, you can do it. Lee looked at Guy and undid the straps on his pants, removing them, and some people thought it was just a little weight, but when he released them, they fell with a loud smash on the ground. After that, he disappeared, making Gaara finally react for the first time since he reached the arena, showing his surprise when Lee attacked him, breaking through his defense, leaving him to turn around to find nothing there. Lee kept up this series of attacks, much to the crowd's amazement, as Sasuke could only watch with his bloodline, trying to copy his speed and his attacks. He kept getting closer and closer until he unleashed a spinning kick that caused a cut on Gaara, forcing him away from Lee. He managed to cut Gaara. Kankuro whispered. The battle continued with Lee chipping away at Gaara and then finally pushing him against the wall. His sand was withering around him, malevolent chakra surrounding him, causing Lee to retreat, giving him so space. Gaara lifted his head, a large, manic smirk filled his face, until an explosion rocked the stony silence and the feeling of drowsiness overcame most of the crowd. The invasion has started. Gaara had his cue and left the stadium in the chaos surrounding, and Naruto took after him after getting an order from Hayato to follow after him as he ripped through several sand nin who were attacking with the help of Lee and his taijutsu. Kakashi saw Naruto trailing after Gaara from the corner of his eye, and he snapped an order Sasuke and Sakura to go after Gaara, to which Sasuke smirked at the chance to prove his skills, and Sakura just followed after Sasuke, jumping away from the battle in the stadium. Kakashi took down several jounin and made his way towards Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy, who were fighting the rest of the invaders. Asuma said, "Shikamaru, go help Sasuke and Sakura, understand?" The lazy genin gave a quick, "Yes sir," and made haste going after two, making sure not leave any trails for the enemy to follow, as Asuma then ordered Ino, Choji, and Kiba to help out civilians and protect them. Shino followed after Shikamaru to trail after Sasuke and Sakura. Ino and Choji were ordered to help the people in the academy and protect the students, and several civilians, Hinata and Rain, were attacking the enemy ninjas. An explosion came from the Kage box, and the Sound 4 created a barrier on the orders of Orochimaru, entrapping the two Kage-level shinobi inside the barrier as Orochimaru brandished his sword, while Sarutobi summoned the Monkey King Enma, who transformed into a large staff. "Finish what you've started, you old monkey," Enma said. Sasuke and Sakura, now joined by Shikamaru and Shino, were working their way towards the battle where Naruto and Gaara was. Shino stayed behind to battle Kankuro, and Shikamaru was left behind to battle with Temari, leaving Sasuke and Sakura to stumble upon the scene of Naruto fighting Gaara. "Dobe, your better is here, you can leave and sigh in relief now. Go scrape the cum of Orochimaru off your teeth, Uchiha," Naruto snapped, avoiding the sand was going to crush him. "However, if you really want to fight him, be my guest, don't nag me if you die," Naruto said, jumping away from Gaara and landing on the same tree where his teammates were standing. "So, you know your place?" Sasuke smirked, thinking about how to get him back for the cum comment. "Get your ass moving, Uchiha, or are you waiting for something long and hard to shove you down there?" Naruto said, ignoring him. Before the Uchiha could reply, a wave of sand rushed towards them and they avoided the hit, but Sakura was now pinned to the tree. "She'll die if you don't defeat me," Gaara said as the sand was slowly about to crush Sakura. Now, Gaara, why make us wait when you can easily kill her now?" Naruto tooted, thinking that keeping her alive was waste of time and air. Sakura looked shocked at the boy who used to follow her around like a puppy. "You wouldn't let him kill me, would you, Naruto?" "Of course, I would, you pathetic waste of a girl, you aren't worth my time." "No, you're lying. You love me. Like you know a thing about the concept, Haruno, all you want is admiration and confidence from me and desire the Uchiha along with one-upping Ino, that's all you care about, you vain fangirl," he stated coldly, shattering her as she went limp, tears running down her face. "He doesn't care." "No, he does. I'll make him care, and when he does I'll crush him. He is my loyal puppy. He loves me. He always loves me, and I will make him." Sasuke vs. Gaara. Sasuke moves to attack Gaara, and all his attacks have very little effect and it more like a bug buzzing around him. The Sasuke then fell to his knees, his curse mark from Orochimaru spreading all over his body, crippling him, and Gaara swatted him away, making him bash his back against one of the trees, and he got knocked out of the fight, and Gaara made his sand cover him, releasing his Biju. "Ah, hell yeah. I'm going to cause so much hell." The sand raccoon yelled out, "Kyuubi-chan. You know what to do, brat." Naruto jumped down to ground level, he bit into his hand, flipping through hand seals, and yelled, "Demon summoning jutsu." A large poof of smoke appeared and malevolent chakra poured around the area. The Kyuubi has finally been released, and it scared the shit out of everyone, shocking the old man, Orochimaru, and the two brought back to life past Hokages. "Naruto? It seems the Kyuubi brat has some tricks up his sleeve." Back to the battle. The smoke cleared and Kyuubi stood tall and proud in all her furry, horrible glory, with Naruto standing on her head staring at the puzzled sand Biju. "You. How the hell? I just have a better container. Now, it's time for you to learn your place," Kyuubi said with a smirk. The battle was Titan level, the destroyed brush, the flames, and sands of the two monsters changed the landscape, and Naruto finally got an opening and smashed a fist into Gaara's skull, waking him up. "No! Damn it! I wanted to stay out longer." The one-tail yelled before crumbling into a large pile of sand and Gaara fell to the floor in a heap. Naruto releases Kyuubi back into the seal on his stomach and walks towards the downed Gaara, who looks up unfearing at Naruto, who then smirked at him. While Gaara thought he was going to kill him, Naruto took him and leaned him against a tree. Why? Why what? Why aren't you going to kill me? Because I couldn't kill a brother in tails. Regardless, you seem to be missing a big picture, One Tail. Gaara looked for an explanation and Naruto told him he still had his brother and sister and not to give them up. He didn't have to be alone anymore. The Sunanin thought about what Naruto was talking about. It all rang large bells in his head. He was right, his siblings could have easily abandoned him. Instead, they stuck by him. Right after he finished the thought, Temari and Kankuro appeared. Temari gasped and readied her fan while Kankuro was preparing for his puppet to spring. Temari, Kankuro, enough, I lost. Gaara made his way towards them with the help of Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto looked at him and Gaara said, thanks. Naruto smirked and said, anytime, I just want to have another battle in the future. Gaara smiled and made away with his siblings, disappearing in the brush. Naruto then returned to the village, gripping Sakura by her hair and Sasuke by his shirt, and saw that the village was in shambles but the dead invaders lining the floor and the captured ninja being led away by Konoha Shinobi. Kakashi was making his way towards him, but he had to catch the unconscious Sasuke and Sakura as Naruto threw their bodies at him. Naruto dusted himself off and said, where's the old man? Before Kakashi could reply, Asuma cut in and said, he is in the hospital. Naruto nodded in the smoking ninja's direction and flashed away. Konoha Hospital. Sarutobi Hiruzen was in bed, hospitalized. He was able to cripple Orochimaru by jutsu, shredding the nerves in his arms. Jiraiya is in the room and is talking with Hiruzen, who said, I can't lead anymore, Jiraiya. But, who is going to take your place? And before you ask, no, I need to run my spy network. The same excuse you use when I ask that you visit Naruto. Sensei, don't start. Why should I, Jiraiya? Every time I bring up Naruto you find some way to get away. Why can't you take responsibility? I can understand Tsunade because she had so much pain of loved ones being taken away from her and she thought that Naruto was dead, but you have no excuse. I know, but what, Jiraiya-sama? A new voice came into the room and both men saw Naruto standing in the doorway, and he looked anything but happy. Somewhere else, a red-haired woman was staring at picture frame of a young boy with blonde locks with a sad and miserable look in his eye contrasting the large fake smile on his lips. Son, I will set you free. I'm so sorry. I pushed you away. A door opened and closed and woman's eyes opened wide before squinting into slits and snarl on her lips. Junko. A large grin and a smooth voice replied back, Kushina-chan. Sarutobi Hiruzen was in bed, hospitalized. He was able to cripple Orochimaru with a jutsu, shredding the nerves in his arms. Jiraiya is in the room and is talking with Hiruzen, who said, I can't lead anymore, Jiraiya. But, who is going to take your place? And before you ask, no, I need to run my spy network. The same excuse you use when I ask that you visit Naruto, Hiruzen said, disappointed. Sensei, don't start. Why shouldn't I, Jiraiya? Every time I bring up Naruto you find some way to get away. Why can't you take responsibility? I can understand Tsunade because she had so much pain of loved ones being taken away from her and she thought Naruto was dead, but you have no excuse. I know, but what, Jiraiya-sama? A new voice came into the room and both men saw Naruto standing in the doorway and he looked anything but happy. Present. Naruto, Hiruzen said, wondering how much he heard. Jiraiya stared at Naruto as he closed the door behind him and leaned against it. This was not the happy-go-lucky boy he heard so much about. The one that would scream to the heavens about being Hokage in a bright orange jumpsuit and would eat double his own weight in ramen. How much did you hear, Naruto? Hiruzen said. When Jiraiya-sama said he needed to run his spy network, he replied back, simply. The silence filled the room and Hiruzen broke it by saying, Naruto, why are you here? I came to check if you were okay. Now that I see that you are, I will be taking my leave, he said, turning around. Wait. Jiraiya said. What is it, Jiraiya-sama? Naruto asked. I want you to come with me. What? Naruto said, turning around to fully face the Toad Sage. We are going on an A-rank mission to find my teammate, Tsunade the slug sage, Jiraiya said, proudly. I'm sorry, Jiraiya-sama, you can find someone much better suited to accompany you in finding your teammate, Naruto refused. Naruto please, Hiruzen said, cutting Jiraiya off and making Naruto stop from leaving. Why, old man? He asked. Because I can no longer lead as the Hokage and Tsunade is the only available candidate to take it, if not her, then. Danzo Naruto growled. Alright, only for you and not having to deal with Danzo, however, if the mission is a failure and Danzo is the next Hokage, I am leaving and never returning, Naruto said with a sigh. You would leave Konoha? Jiraiya said, disgusted. Naruto glared at the Toad Sage, in a heartbeat. This village hadn't been fucking heaven as you like to think, and if you think you could convince me not to jump ship, then you are wasting your breath. Jiraiya knew he had his work cut out for him and he knew his sensei wasn't going to be any help either. As I said before, you can leave, you would be allowed to leave if Danzo was ever made Hokage, Hiruzen sighed, ignoring Jiraiya's shocked look. What surprises me is why that war horse is still alive and kicking when the elemental nations would come themselves silly if they heard of his death, Naruto said, bluntly. Hiruzen sighed at Naruto's crass and blunt words, even though they rang true. Okay Naruto, meet me by the hot springs in an hour, he smirked before leaving in a puff of smoke. Naruto stared at Hiruzen and said, he's the one that writes the perverted orange books, isn't he? A blush lit up his face and Naruto shook his head, not surprised and it's kind of sad. Naruto then left the room, throwing a get-well over his shoulder before disappearing entirely. I hope Naruto-kun, this village will get your trust again even though they don't deserve it, Hiruzen thought with sadness. Flashback. A red-haired woman was staring at a picture frame of a young boy with blonde locks with a sad and miserable look in his eye contrasting the large fake smile on his lips. Son, I will set you free, I'm so sorry. I pushed you away. A door opened and closed and woman's eyes opened wide before squinting into slits and a snarl fell on her lips. Junko. A large grin and smooth voice replied back, Kushina-chan. Present. Kushina stood up from the couch she was sitting on and moved face to face with her sister, Junko Yato, her ex-sister who wore the reverse symbol of the Uzumaki clan tattooed on her right breast. The large smirk still on her face as her soulless blue eyes bored into Kushina's own. Why are you here? Kushina said, gritting her teeth. Oh, just came to check on my favorite sister, she said, moving towards Kushina. Kushina stood still and Junko moved until the pair were nearly nose to nose with each other. Junko glanced to the side and let a smile lit up her face. Oh, you're reminiscing of what could have been, if you didn't think your own son was a demon. Shut up, Kushina gritted out. Oh, so now you stare at the picture, Junko said, moving over picking up the framed picture, holding it up to Kushina's face. Poor little Naru-chan who tried so hard to please you, but a large face-splitting smirk lit up her face. Not even the spunky blonde who was the epitome of innocence could handle what you did to him. You and your clansmen, she finished off with a growl. Kushina put her head down and started to shake and Junko continued, walking around her and said, Mommy, you see. I did what you asked me to. Mommy, do you like it? Mommy, what else do you need? What saddens me that if he were my kid, would have loved him, Junko said, staring at the picture, making Kushina's head snap up in anger. Love, what would a person like you know of love? She spat. Well, the same could be said about you, dear Kushina. After all, I admit I have done many horrible things, but you are much worse than me, Junko said, ignoring her as if she was a fly. No, I'm not, Kushina rejected. Oh yes, you are, after all. How can you call yourself a mother when you made your son into a child prostitute for your own family to take it out their daily stress and anger on, and when they were finished, you threw him away, just to die in the trash with a sneer? Kushina roared and shoved Junko against the wall, but the busty woman moved before her head could be smashed in and she laughed as Kushina went to attack her, to shut her up. Junko kicked Kushina away from her and pinned her underneath. Come on, is that the best you can do? Junko said. Kushina just struggled until Junko from her chakra chains and stabbed them one by one through Kushina's limbs and through the floor. As her screams tapered off she glared at Junko through her tears. Oh, I love that look, so filled with hate and anguish, just like little Naru-chan. What did you do to him? Junko laughed and said, I didn't do anything, I actually found him in that dumpster you left him in, covered in cum and piss. his eyes were so dead-looking it ran shudders down my spine. He actually thought I was you for a second until he saw my strawberry locks, she said, running a hand through her hair. Since it was pouring and he had nowhere else to go, I took him in and trained him. He became something out of nightmares. When I trained him he was unrelenting and he tore apart his enemies. Something to be very proud of. Kushina turned her head away from Junko as she continued on. I don't think I could do something like that. He was so broken on the inside, and yet I could see so much sadness that his own mother used him like that, as a stress reliever and as a fuck toy. I usually choose one or the other, but not both. Why are you telling me this? Because I tend on taking Naruto-kun with me to the west, she said to Kushina's horrified face. You can't. Why not? You want him because you finally realized that he is not the demon you and your clan claimed him to be, or is it because Minato, if he knew what you did, he would tear off your head? That's not true. Yes, it is. Don't lie to yourself. Regardless, what do you think he'll do once he sees you again? Embrace you and beg you to take him back. Don't make me laugh. Your son, the old monkey Sarutobi and Tsunade, the one you consider a mother, would kill you and piss on your rotting corpse, Junko said, before slowly removing her chains from Kushina's limbs, causing a fresh wave of pain. He will never side with you. He's an Uzumaki, Kushina said. And when I give him a place in my family, he will a Yato, cold, merciless, and cruel. Goodbye, Kushina. I'm going to watch my future son wreak havoc, and considering he already has 2 willing females at his side, I might even invite them to join. You are a twisted slaughterer, Junko, Kushina said with a sneer. The blonde woman chuckled. And what does that make you, Kushina? I'm no saint, and I know where I am going when I die. You are going to a place even lower and crueler than I am for you and the rest of those fuckwits in your clan did to Naruto, Junko returned. She turned around and disappeared in a flash of black light, leaving Kushina healing herself on the floor. I need to make amends, even if I get beaten to death by Hiruzen, she thought to herself, pulling herself up before flashing away. Hot springs. Naruto had an eye twitch as he heard perverted giggling as the pathetic man was watching women in the springs, and Naruto silently gathered chakra into his hand and sent it towards Jiraiya's ass, making him yelp and fall into the hot springs, where the sounds of pleas of mercy and sounds of flesh being hit. After 10 minutes of ass being kicked, crotch stomping, and pleas for mercy and high-pitched screaming, Jiraiya was thrown over the side of the hot springs, and Anko and several others came out to see the twitching toad sage. The civilian woman said, "Are you a part of it?" Naruto glared at the woman, making her shake. "Don't dare accuse me of catering to pervert over there," he said, pointing his thumb at the twitching mass of stress. Anko winked at Naruto, who smiled back before Anko dragged Kurenai, who was looking at Naruto with a critical eye, back into the hot springs. "What the hell was that for?" Jiraiya said, standing up, looking completely fine. "You being a pervert," Naruto said, simply. "I'm not a pervert, I'm a super pervert," Jiraiya exclaimed with a pose. "Which is even more pathetic," Naruto said in a monotone, causing Jiraiya to face fault. "Are we going to go or not?" Naruto asked. Fine, Jiraiya said, walking towards the gate, and Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke were there. "Damn it, the bitching 3 stooges," Naruto groaned. "Jiraiya-sama," Kakashi said, about to prattle on and on about his perverted book. "Perverted sage, are you forgetting the mission? Naruto baka. Don't insult one of the Sannin," Sakura yelled, moving to punch him. Naruto moved to the side and tripped her, making her head hit the gate, knocking her unconscious. Pathetic. Alright, let's get moving, Naruto. Try not to die, dobe." Naruto didn't even acknowledge what Sasuke said as he sped away from the village with Jiraiya to search for Tsunade, as Kakashi watched Naruto with a look of sadness and Sasuke with envy and rage. Naruto traveled with Jiraiya, bouncing from place to place, and Naruto having to drag Jiraiya away from the hot springs after he got the shit beaten out of him by pissed-off females. Naruto had taken to calling Jiraiya by the affectionate title of pervert, while he wanted Naruto to call him Jiraiya, which Naruto would continue calling him pervert. Soon the pair split up as a girl flirted with Jiraiya, leading him to brush off Naruto, who shook his head and made his way to the hotel, while 2 men in black cloaks with red clouds on them were watching him from a distance. Naruto arrived at the hotel room, clocked in, went into his destined bedroom and laid on his bed, and soon the sound of knocking on the door sounded out the minute he was going to sleep. Naruto, Kyuubi said. I know, Kyuubi, I know, Naruto thought back. He then walked towards the door, opened it and saw two men. The shorter one had red eyes with commas in them, and the taller one had a sword nearly the same size he was, and his skin was blue with bloodshot eyes. The three ninjas stared at each other for a while until Naruto broke the silence and said, Look, I don't know who you are, but I don't care, I'm not interested in what you are selling, please go home. And with that Naruto shut the door with a firm slam. Kisame looks at his partner and said, Did that just happen? Itachi sighed and said, Apparently, bust down the door. The shark-like man smirked and was prepared to ram down the door until Itachi pulled him away and a blast of chakra-enhanced wind destroyed where they just were standing moments ago. Naruto walked into the hallway to see the two men down the hall, a few feet away from where the attack destroyed the opposite wall. Kisame whistled at the destruction while Itachi was thinking that this was not the energetic blonde that he watched over when he was still in the ABNU. This one was too cold and focused, along with his eyes. They are much darker than when he left. So, what happened while I was away to change the blonde like this, he thought to himself. Itachi Uchiha, slaughterer of the Uchiha clan, and Kisame Hashigaki, the monster of the hidden mist, Naruto said, in monotone. So, the little brat, knows our names, Kisame said, intrigued. Itachi said, Naruto-kun, please come with us. Sorry, Itachi, but I can't do that, Naruto shook his head. Then can I cut off his legs, Itachi? He won't need them, Kisame grinned. Itachi just glanced at him from the corner of his eye until someone interrupted their meeting. Itachi! Sasuke yelled, arriving panting at the scene, glaring at his brother with so much hate. Kisame smirked, my Itachi, a reunion? Naruto snorted, tch, fucking bastard has the worst timing. Little brother, Itachi said in monotone. I have been strengthening my hate for this day and I will finally kill you. He snarled, covering his entire hand in lightning. He dragged his arm through the wall, destroying it, so he could land a hit on Itachi. However, the elder man easily caught Sasuke's wrist, breaking it, disabling the lightning jutsu. Itachi then slammed him against the wall with spider cracks surrounding Sasuke's body. You are still too weak, little brother, not enough hate. However, before Itachi could do anything, Naruto decides to infer, causing Itachi to drop Sasuke and dodged Kisame's strike with his massive sword. Naruto rushed towards Sasuke, grabbing him by his hair and made to escape through the wall. Dobe, let me go. Sasuke snarled, trying to pry Naruto's ironclad grip out of his hair. Naruto didn't bother responding and ran to get as much space as he could between the two S-ranked ninjas and himself. However, that plan was futile. The two S-ranked missing ninjas stood in front of him, Kisame with an interested and amused look while Itachi still had his emotionless face on. Dobe, you better let me go or else dash. Sasuke said, renewing his struggling after seeing his brother in front of him. Naruto smashed a knee into Sasuke's chest making him cough and hack. Shut it, Uchiha. This is not the time for you pinning after your brother's ass. Your brother is an S-ranked missing ninja who slaughtered his entire clan and you in pathetic arrogance decided to attack him with a frontal attack of an assassination jutsu that should only be used on a restrained target. Kisame whistled before laughing, your brother is getting his ass put on a plate, Itachi. Itachi simply closed his eyes and silently sighed at Sasuke's behavior. Sasuke finally wrenched himself free of Naruto's grip, sending a scalding glare towards the blonde who returned it with his own cold gaze. Stay the hell out of my way, Dobe, Sasuke snarled, glaring him before focusing on Itachi. Is Dobe all you can say? Naruto snapped before moving out of the way of Kisame's sword strike. Enough talking, kid, now you have to entertain me for a while if you can last long enough. Naruto snarled and put himself into a taijutsu position as he allowed his chakra to flow out as Sasuke faced to his older brother. Kisame swings his sword bringing it down on the tiled roof with a smashing force that made pieces of tile fly everywhere. However, a blood-curdling scream came from Sasuke and it was Itachi holding his younger brother by his broken wrist and he just finished using his bloodline technique called Tsukuyomi on him, making him relive the slaughter of his clan. Itachi threw Sasuke away to which he landed on the hard ground below them and focused his attention on the armed Kyuubi container. But before the two Akatsuki members to fight to capture Naruto, Jiraiya enters the fray. The great Jiraiya has arrived. He screamed, standing between the two Akatsuki members and Naruto. Pervert, what took you so long? Naruto said, plainly, nearly causing the Toad Sage to face fault. Let's us go, Kisame, Itachi said, before disappearing with the disappointed missing Mist Ninja in tow, leaving Naruto and Jiraiya alone on the rooftops. Like I said, dynamic entry. A scream shouted to the heavens. Jiraiya was then kicked off the roof and Guy is standing tall and proud and Naruto could only slightly smile at and say, 8 of 10, Guy-san, however. You can make better progress by aiming at pain spots of either the throat or the center of the forehead, he said, clapping his hands. Guy looked at the downed Sannin and then looked at Naruto said, I messed up, haven't I? He said, scratching his head. Naruto nodded his head and soon Jiraiya was back up again and conversed with Guy who he first berated him for kicking him while Guy defended that he used the glint from his ninja headband to direct his kick. Guy then took Sasuke back to Konoha and Naruto shook his head at Sasuke's stubbornness. Jiraiya told him that he found Tsunade and they made their way to the bar. Tsunade was with her apprentice Shizune with her pig Tuntun eating dinner and Jiraiya walks towards their table with Naruto in tow. Jiraiya, why are you here? Tsunade said as Jiraiya and Naruto scooted into the booth. We are here because we need you to become the 5th Hokage of Leaves, Jiraiya stated. Not happening, she stated firmly. Tsunade, come on, he said. No, Tsunade said, about to leave, before Naruto cut in. Can you at least visit the old man? Naruto said, causing her to stop in her tracks. Old man? Shizune asked. The 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Tsunade, he's on his last leg from protecting the village by using a jutsu that shredded Orochimaru's arms, Jiraiya said. The village still stands? Shizune asked. Yes, it still stands, Naruto replied. She shook her head and said, no, I won't go back. Tsunade, you have to, it's your home, you have to protect it, he begged. Jiraiya, I will not do it, being Hokage is a fool's dream and everyone who aimed for that dream is dead and that damn village took all of my family away from me and you expect me to come back and lead it? No way in hell, she spat. Jiraiya was trying to convince her, but Tsunade wouldn't hear any of it, but then her eyes caught Naruto's, they looked cold and dead looking and it ran shudders down her spine. Naruto just shook his head and said, pervert, scoot over, the mission is a failure. Naruto, Jiraiya said. No, pervert, it seems that Danzo will be the Hokage this time considering that the prime candidate is too chicken to go on the stand. Who the fuck are you calling a chicken, brat? Tsunade said, moving until she was nose to nose with the younger boy who looks back at her with unflinching eyes. I am because all I see is a pathetic, pale imitation of a woman that used to crumble mountains and the one woman who destroyed the common stereotype of a woman couldn't be stronger than a man. That and the person who I thought was my godmother, he trailed off in a whisper, which she heard causing her to freeze in place. Naruto turns to Jiraiya and said, pervert, I will be at the hotel to pack my things. He moves away from the table and Tsunade stood up to run towards the boy yelling for him to wait, but he flashed away before she could grab him. Tsunade turns back and sits back down in the booth as Jiraiya swallows down a shot of sake as she glares at him for an explanation. He sighed and said, I know you want to know, but I don't. You don't know? What the hell was going on with him? And is he really? Tsunade trailed off. A sharp nod from Jiraiya gave her the answer. Damn it, Jiraiya, why didn't you tell me? She yelled, slamming her fist on the table. Did you really think you could have raised a baby in your condition? You went drinking and gambling nearly every day for 6 years after that day. He snapped back, not in the mood to play the blame game. And what about you? Tsunade said, still miffed. I had my spy network to run and I couldn't take care of him without a bunch of red flags popping all over the elemental nations and people questioning why I have a baby who looks like you know who, he said, sadly. Tsunade sighed and she looked like she was going to be ill and Jiraiya stood up and said, you don't have to come back, I won't make you, however, if you join up with Orochimaru, I swear to Kami I will end you. He finished darkly, causing her to gulp. He then left the bar, leaving Tsunade alone with her thoughts with Shizune at her side. She touched her teacher's arm but Tsunade just shook her head. Tsunade paid for her meal and told Shizune to go to Jiraiya's hotel as she grabbed the sake bottle. As she walked outside and looked at the sky and then down at the bottle in her hand, and for the first time in a long time, she dumped the rest of her half-empty bottle of sake on the ground and threw away the bottle. She then went on a walk, letting her feet take her away until she found Naruto meditating underneath the shadow of a tree. "Tsunade, I know you are there, come out," he said, not moving from his spot. She stands a few feet away from him and he asks a simple question. "Why didn't you come for me?" he asked, not opening his eyes. "I was told you were dead," she said, softly. "That's it?" Naruto said, plainly. "No, I saw your dead, unmoving corpse and everything. I truly thought you were dead and I tried every healing spell that I knew and you wouldn't wake up and I just couldn't take it anymore and I left the village. When they confirmed your death." Kyuubi. She's not lying, her heart is still normal and I can feel genuine sadness, she's telling the truth. Naruto nodded in acceptance of her answer as she took a seat in front of him. "Other than Hiruzen, what else has been going on in the Leaf Village?" Naruto looked up and said, "Kushina is alive. Your mother is alive." Tsunade said, shocked out of her wits. Naruto snarled and a tree sideways from them, exploded into ashes and flames licked at the remains, shocking the slug Sannin. "That bitch is not my mother," he spat out with pure venom. Tsunade was shocked, but before she could defend the woman she thought as a daughter, Naruto crossed the few feet between him and her and said, "I'm going to show you what she did to me and when it is finished, you tell me if you can still think of her as a mother after that." Naruto placed his fingers at her temples and said, "Memory hell viewing technique." Before everything surrounding Tsunade faded to black, Okame, Sasuke confronts his brother, Bleach version, Sharalat Chulhorn, Itachi. Sasuke yelled, arriving panting at the scene, glaring at his brother so full of hate. Kisame smirked, "My Itachi a reunion?" Naruto snorted, "TCH, fucking bastard has the worst timing." "Little brother," Itachi said in monotone, "I have been strengthening my hate for this day and I will finally kill you." He snarled. "This special technique will finally end you," Sasuke said, pulling out a sword from behind his back. Sasuke held it with two hands and said, "Sparkle, Queen of Roses." A plume of smoke appeared, covering the entire hallway as Naruto blew the smoke away from his face, and when the smoke cleared, Naruto had to bite his tongue to keep his jaw from hitting the floor. Kyuubi, who was watching from behind his eyes, was choking and spluttering inside his head. Itachi's eyes were popping out of his skull and Kisame was 1 minute away from laughing his ass to death. Sasuke, fucking, Uchiha, was wearing a white crop top with extended wing-like shoulder pads and a short pink cape attached to the back. He has white underwear with extended wings at the hips and a pink flowing mini skirt. He has large, white, disc-like bracelets on his ankles and wrists, and he wears heeled shoes. His pubic hair is replaced by a pink heart outline with a smaller heart above it, and he completes the outfit with a tiara with horns. Kisame couldn't hold it in anymore and fell on the floor with cackling laughter, and Kyuubi followed soon afterward, laughing inside her seal. Naruto let out a shuddering breath that sounded like a laugh while Itachi slowly shook his head and wondered if he could just put his clan out of his misery and just kill him and himself for the shame. Naruto interrupted his train of thought by saying, "Damn it, Sasuke, did Orochimaru having your black cherry fuck you up so badly?" Causing Sasuke to blush and then to glare at Naruto, who shrugged his shoulders and wanted to watch how the scene played out between brothers, and so he leaned against the doorway waiting for the first brother to attack. "Oh, that how it got to this point, inward shudder at least it wasn't Danzo, I would tear his head off myself if he was taught by Danzo," Itachi sighed. "Shut up, Dobe, with this power, I can finally kill Itachi." "Sasuke, apparently we need to have that talk we missed when I found you messing around in mother's clothes and makeup," Itachi said, softly as he cracked his knuckles and his killing intent leaking out slowly. Sasuke put his hands in a heart shape and yelled out, "Beautiful Sasuke Uchiha's final holy wonderful pretty super magnum sexy glamorous zero." A pink heart-shaped blast came from Sasuke's hands, causing Itachi and Naruto to move away from the attack. But Kisame was too slow and he was caught in the attack. When the attack finished, Kisame was baked to hell and Naruto whistled at Sasuke's fired attack. "Not bad, Uchiha," Naruto said, looking at the baked remains of the missing mist ninja. Itachi, on the other hand, went to have that talk with his brother, ergo beating the shit out of him and then forcing him through the Tsukuyomi, and then had to flee when Jiraiya arrived, taking the charred remains of his partner with him, leaving the smell of baked fish in the hallway. Naruto? What is it, pervert? Why is the hallway destroyed and smell like baked fish? Itachi and his partner came to kidnap me, but Sasuke in his infinite wisdom decided to blast a pink attack that destroyed the hallway and baked one of the attackers to hell, Naruto said, pointing at the downed Uchiha. Okay, now, dynamic entry. A voice shouted to the heavens. It was Guy in all of his green spandex glory who kicked Jiraiya out of the hotel, and that made Naruto laugh along with Kyuubi, who was now wheezing from so much laughing. That bitch is not my mother, he spat out with pure venom. Tsunade was shocked, but before she could defend the woman she thought as a daughter, Naruto crossed the few feet between him and her and said, I'm going to show you what she did to me, and when it is finished, you tell me if you can still think of her as a mother after that. Naruto placed his fingers at her temples and said, memory hell viewing technique. Before everything surrounding Tsunade faded to black. Genjutsu. Naruto first meeting with his mother, hiding her existence and returning to the Leaf Village. Naruto was kicking rocks as the glares, sneers, rude and downright vile comments of Naruto being a demon and how he should just die washed over the small boy, and he just kept his head down and trying to move away from public view without getting another beating. He walked towards the edge of the village out of the way of the civilians, and he was about to make his way back to his apartment until he saw a fiery red-headed woman, and his curiosity led him to watch her from a distance. After 2 days of watching her, he decided to take a chance, and if she was like the rest of the villagers he would never bother her again. After all, the worst of anything happening would be him getting another beating, which unfortunately was something he was well accustomed to. Naruto Uzumaki had no idea how much his life would change after meeting the red-headed woman. Naruto spent the next days watching her before gathering up the courage to go up to her in private, and she noticed him right away. She had her eye on him ever since she returned to the village and would enjoy the reports of the demon's suffering, and she hated him for trying to look like her late husband Minato Namikaze. Kushina didn't know why she allowed the demon wearing the skin of her late son to come anywhere near her or even watch her. All she wanted to do was to tear those traitorous eyes out of the demon's head. However, when he came up to her and introduced himself, it wasn't the boisterous manner she was expecting as she watched him exclaim loudly all over the village, but softly almost to that of a kitten. Hello, he said, eliminating the awkward silence. Hello, Kushina replied. Are you new here? Naruto said, not really knowing where to start the conversation. No, I have lived here and I have a family, she replied, plainly. Oh, he said, looking disheartened, I'm sorry for bothering your quiet time. Wait, what is your name? She asked. And my name? He stuttered. Kushina nodded once and he said, Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. And Naruto? Son? She said in shock. Son? He said, in shock. She nodded and he hugged her and she slowly hugged him back, but he noticed out of the corner of his eye that she may have had a smile on her face, but her eyes were so filled with malice would kill a lesser man. However, Naruto didn't want to believe her malice was focused on him, and her hug was extremely crushing, as if she was trying to make him shit out his organs almost to the likeness of toothpaste. Naruto was bouncing around in excitement and said, I have a mother. I have a mother. I can't believe it, but why did you leave me? He said with utter sadness, looking at the red-headed woman. Kushina said, I was hiding, Naruto-kun. Hiding? Naruto questioned. Yes, you see there are bad men who want me dead, she smiled sadly. They want to kill you? Naruto asked shocked. She nodded and said, I had to go into hiding and there were consequences when you born, and it was during the Kyuubi attack and your father was killed and someone put a hit on me and I hide to hide you so you wouldn't be killed. Naruto teared up and said, is the guy dead? He didn't hurt you, did he? No, but he is in hiding in order to kill both you and me, she said, softly. So I can't be with you, he stated with his head down. Well, she said, looking away from him. What is it? Naruto asked. I think since it has been years after their first attack, you can stay with me, she said, looking back at Naruto. I can live with you? Really? Naruto said, his eyes bright with hope. She nodded at the hope-filled boy. Yes. I can't wait to tell the old man. He smiled. Who is the old man? She asked. The third Hokage, why? Do you know him? He asked her, to which she slightly flinched. She stalled for a bit until she said, you can't tell him about me. What? Why not? Naruto said, looking surprised. Because of the dangerous man, remember? She gently reminded him. Naruto looked down in shame because he didn't want his mother to get hurt. Okay, I won't tell him, only until you feel ready to tell him. However, I don't know your name. My name is Kushina Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you, Naruto-kun. She smiled and she took him to her home where the Uzumaki clan is still alive and thriving. Then everything faded to black and Tsunade was thrust into another memory of Naruto's beating under disguise of training and helping. Naruto was kicked halfway across the training ground and he slowly got up, wincing as his stomach violently refused to his action of movement. Don't tell me that's all you have? A voice of a redhead teen boy said, glaring at Naruto. No, I am not. Good, I have much more to try on you, he smiled before attacking Naruto. Tsunade watched as Naruto forced to take beating after beating under the disguise of training and helping people with sparring and was told to not fight back, and it was only because of his advanced healing due to both the Kyuubi and his Uzumaki genes that Naruto was still alive and continued this treatment for several years day after day. Naruto constantly had to wear bandages, so whenever he visited the Hokage, he could just say it was from a beating from the mobs and he accepted it. Even though Hiruzen wanted to know what made the tri-whiskered boy so happy he looked like the sun incarnate, Naruto would just reply that it was a secret and he would tell him when he was ready and he would accept, waiting on Kushina hand and foot. Tsunade is then shown Naruto being worked to the bone, working to please his mother, doing anything and everything she asked because she would give compliments here and there, and Tsunade saw those compliments meant the sun and moon to the little boy. He would do anything to get his mother's approval, and Kushina used that to her advantage and had her clan members use that as well. How she wanted her meals, if it wasn't perfect then she would dump it on Naruto's head and say do it again, and Naruto would get started on it. While clan members who caught the scene laughed as Naruto kept up his fake smile as if to convince himself that he was happy. Kushina ordered him to polish the floors, cook all the meals under the supervision the strict chef, clean the bedrooms, and be Kushina's personal caretaker, brushing her hair and running her baths, setting and ironing her clothes, just to name a few. Naruto would not give up to get his mother's love and respect, though deep down inside he felt something very bad was coming as days kept passing by. More and more of his clan members didn't even try to hide their malice for him, and they would sneer and bark. Orders and compliments from Kushina were getting spare, and they backhand at best and downright insulting at the worst. The little boy didn't want to see the negativity and ignored it because of his dream of finally having a family, as he kept repeating, "It will get better. You should be grateful you have a mother that is here to take care of you. Bear with it, they are family." Those statements hit Tsunade with the likeness of a wet fish, and it made her feel sick, and the slug sage didn't know how much worse it could get as she was thrust into another memory, and this one shocked her out of her wits. It was Junko Uzumaki. Meeting Junko, the strawberry blonde-haired woman, standing at the same height as Kushina. However, her fishnet shirt was a V-neck showing her cleavage with a scarlet skirt and knee-high black boots, chakra-enhanced fingerless gloves with black nails, her heart-shaped face, her pouty lips pulled in her usual large smile, button nose with her usual sky-blue eyes. Tsunade could only look in shock as Naruto chatted with the renowned sadist who exiled herself of the Uzumaki clan and created her own with the reverse symbol of the Uzumaki tattooed on her breast, symboling that she is a Yato. She watched Naruto's memory as he first saw Junko. He just finished wiping down the living room and he was startled, and Junko kicked open the door and her eyes immediately caught with Naruto's, and they stared at each other in silence until Naruto caught on that she was bleeding. He rushed up to her and asked, "Are you okay? I don't think I've seen you before." "What's your name?" he said. His voice was soft and pleasant, and much to Tsunade's shock Junko allowed him to lead her to the bathroom. Tsunade wondered what the hell was Junko planning with Naruto, but she didn't do anything to the boy. Naruto just cleaned and dressed her wounds. Even though he didn't need to do it considering the Uzumaki longevity, he talked to her and she would reply with a simple yes or no and shake her head at certain points. When he finished he told Junko that, "Your stomach will be a bit sore, so I suggest you take it easy for a bit." After saying his piece and goodbye, he left the room, leaving an intrigued Junko staring after the blonde boy. Soon, their meeting was heard by Kushina, who pulled Naruto aside roughly and told him in explicit terms that Junko was a terrible person and she didn't want to hear anything about her being near him or vice versa, or there would be hell to pay. Naruto shook his head as fear welled up in his throat as he heeded his mother's advice while she was near the compound. Naruto continued to visit Junko on her own part of the compound and who she considered family and kept the meetings hidden from Kushina and the rest of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto continued to visit Junko on her own part of the compound and who she considered family and kept the meetings hidden from Kushina and the rest of the Uzumaki clan who he heard nothing but terrible things about the Yato clan. Naruto liked to stay at the Yato part of the compound considering they said no harsh words to him, they were neutral towards him and Naruto liked that and he liked to cook for them. He learned several things from the cooks who ruled the kitchen which improved his cooking much more than before. Whenever he got something right and the chefs would compliment him, he would smile and it would affect the people in the room, they just couldn't help it and they didn't want to admit it but blonde Uzumaki wormed his way into their cold, black hearts. Even Junko who is well known to just tolerate others and the sense of love had no meaning to her, she grew a soft spot for the blonde boy. How he would cook her meals and make her and the rest of the family feel comfortable in their own home won their appreciation. What shocked Junko and made her feel something other than pure enjoyment of people's suffering or sadistic pleasure was when Naruto gave her a gift. It was a painting of her and not a cheap, childlike one but one of art. It was of her with her strawberry blonde locks not in her normal twin tails and she was sitting in a tree, looking out at the scenery in the backyard. She looked at the painting for a long time and she felt something in her chest and she didn't truly know how to describe the feeling, but she felt sated. Almost to the level of crushing enemies underneath her feet and it made her despise Kushina even more for the way she treated her son. Tsunade just watched how Naruto's personality worked magic against even the coldest of hearts and how he made the Yato, well known as the opposite of the Uzumaki, to be cold and merciless, creating comfort for one they should have considered a target. She could only think, Naruto Uzumaki, you are truly an amazing person. Then Tsunade was thrust into another memory. That day, Tsunade soon found herself in Naruto's bare bedroom, the white walls with a tiled floor with a medium-sized bed with covers and a bedside table. He was resting peacefully and she walked towards the sleeping boy and tried to touch him but her hand passed through his head and she remembered that she just an observer. And then Naruto's bedroom door was kicked open, startling the young boy and Tsunade, who looked at the livid face of Kushina, and it wasn't her hair splitting into 9 parts. But it was straight as an arrow and her face was shadowed with malice and hate. Mom? He stuttered, but Kushina replied with a harsh backslap causing Tsunade to yell out a curse, but she couldn't do anything but watch. Tsunade could only watch in shock and horror as Kushina screamed and berated her son, yelling at him that she told him to stay away from Junko and he ignored her order and now he had to pay, and she told him of how he disgusted her ever since she first laid eyes on him and how he was a demon. Naruto was shocked out of his mind as pulsing pain of his cheek and the words of his mother hit him in a comparison a bunch of kunai to an enemy ninja. Kushina then started to beat him to a bloody pulp and Naruto's world was racked with pain and he could only lay there and take it. Even now, you demon bastard, you scorn me by not dying. Fine, this will break you and I will make sure you will not live after today. She smiled, twisting her features into something of a monster, causing Tsunade to feel sick. She picked up Naruto by his hair and dragged him out of his room as Tsunade followed, watching as Kushina would scream at him to be silent while Naruto asked what did he do wrong, and when said that Junko was a good person he was rewarded with a harsh head slam into the wall that made him see stars and a cut from his head made blood fall down his face. Kushina finally arrived at her destination. She opened the door and threw Naruto inside and locked it behind her. Naruto slowly picked himself up and he heard Kushina say, "All right, he's all yours, make him pay." Mom? Mom! Naruto crawled to the door, but then he was suddenly hit in the face and he saw his clan members, all of them leering at him, and Naruto had his back pressed against the door, trembling like a leaf. "Ah, is the demon boy scared?" one asked with a malevolent sneer. "He's probably doing it in excitement just like them, little whore. What are you going to do to me?" Naruto stuttered, wanting nothing more than to be back at his shitty apartment. Grins and sneers from all the people in the room answered him before he was jumped. His clothes were torn off and he was raped repeated for hours, and Tsunade could only watch in horror as he was raped by men and women in his clan, as they thought they could get a new bloodline from the demon, and they made sure he felt nothing but pain from the ordeal. Minutes turned into hours and hours turned into days. Tsunade wanted to puke, wanted to scream, wanted to anything to make the horrible images and noises that kept attacking her senses, and she wanted nothing more than to put Kushina's head on a platter, and she watched as the last ones finally finished violating her godson as they dropped him like a used tissue. Kushina came back into the room and saw Naruto covered head to toe in cum, his blood mixing with the cum creating a sickening pink mixture as Naruto gurgled in pain as Kushina lifted him by his hair. As his dead-looking eyes looked back into Kushina's smug ones, she said, "Apparently you still won't die, demon. Just because you look like my son and wear his skin doesn't mean I won't punish you, and I know my son and husband are cheering me on from the other side. However, I will not allow your presence taint my house any longer. Do you want us to get rid of him, Kushina-sama?" One of Uzumaki members said. "No, you all done enough, we will celebrate tonight." She smiled at them and the members cheered. Naruto gurgled once more before coughing and throwing up a liter of cum on the floor, making Kushina kick his jaw, shattering it with a harsh crack, and Naruto could only sound out a low moan as Tsunade had tears run down her face. Kushina dragged him out of the house, and the scene was caught by one of the Yado members who rushed back to the Yado compound and went to tell Junko. Tsunade felt so hopeless as she watched Kushina manhandle Naruto, dragging him naked through the brush, and she finally dumped him a dumpster filled to the brim with maggots and rotting garbage. "A fitting end for you, demon," Kushina sneered as she threw him into the filthy muck. Naruto stared at her with dead eyes, and Kushina crushed the last bit of light in his eyes and said, "If you come near my compound, I will make the torture you just suffered through look like a playing ninjas game before I finally end your pathetic life, understand?" He slowly nodded as all the light in his eyes finally died as he stared unblinkingly at the woman who crushed him so thoroughly. "Good, now stay there and rot in hell, you pathetic little demon," she spat before flashing away, leaving Naruto to die in the shadows. Tsunade was now weeping silently as she looked at Naruto's dead eyes staring at her, and she just wanted nothing more than to hold him, but her trembling hands just passed through Naruto's prone figure. Naruto barely moved as he kept staring at that spot Kushina left before Junko found him with her emotionless face. He stared back at her with his dead eyes, and she slowly moved towards him and carried him in her arms. She took him away from the dumpster, and Tsunade knew that Junko was a hair's inch away from committing a slaughter. The Yado clan finally separated from the Uzumaki, moving somewhere the Uzumaki couldn't find them, and she took him back to his new compound, and they were in shock at seeing the state of Naruto. They steeled their faces and took him into their care, healed, and cleaned him up. Naruto hadn't said anything since his farewell present from the Uzumaki clan, and he rested in his bed as Tsunade watched Naruto from his bedside, watching as the Yado cared for him and healed him. The young boy still had a blank look on his face, his blue eyes were dark as sapphires but dull as a polished stone. He remained expressionless as his mind was steel box, and she couldn't tell what he was thinking. Junko walked into Naruto's bedroom. She took a seat on his bed and watched Naruto, and he watched her. Finally, she broke the silence and said, "Do you want to get stronger?" Naruto finally spoke for the first time since his attack and rape and said, "Where do I start?" After saying that, the last thing Tsunade saw was Junko's smiling face and sparkling eyes. Genjutsu release. Tsunade was then back in her own body, and she was staring at Naruto's blue eyes and saw terrifying darkness, strength, and crippling sadness that could make a depressed person seem like his cheery mask of a dead last. He moved away from her as Tsunade ran to a bush and threw up and emptied the contents of her stomach, and when she finished she let out an anguished scream of pain and horror as she felt her own heart ripped out of her chest from the horrors she just witnessed. She punched the ground, causing a massive fissure in the ground as tears ran down her face as she gasped and hiccuped in sadness, pain, and rage. Tsunade felt a hand on her shoulder and looked to see a plain-faced Naruto as he handed her a napkin, which she took and thanked him for. He then led her back to his hotel room and found that the pervert was still out and about with his peeping. She laid on the bed and he sat down on the chair in the room and said, "Do not tell anyone unless I tell you to, okay?" Tsunade nodded and said, I won't tell anyone. I'm so sorry, I should have been there for you." Naruto just nodded his head and told her to go to sleep, which she did as the emotional whirlwind she just went through exhausted her and she just went to sleep. Now that she knows what they did to me, I wonder what she will do next. Naruto thought as he got up and watched Tsunade sleep. However, she grabbed him and pulled him into the bed, not wanting to let him go. Oh right, I nearly forgot the Senju are a part of the Uzumaki and she has her sensing ability and her emotions are still running rampant, he inwardly sighed. Oh well, at least it will give the pervert something to cry about, considering his godson is one of few to cuddle with his godmother's massive tits while he can only look and not touch. Naruto inwardly snorted as he made himself comfortable in Tsunade's grasp. He wouldn't admit it, but her protective grasp was welcoming and comfortable as he let her warmth lull him to sleep, and he went through a flashback of his own of the time he met Rika. Flashback, Naruto, age 9, Rika, 9, both nearly age 10. Naruto had the symbol of the Yado on his black shirt and he wore green shorts with ninja sandals. He grew, training with the Yado who healed and protected him as he hid in plain sight as they helped him create his mask as a cheery slacker who kept trying and shouting that he would be the greatest Hokage. He was walking downtown in the middle of night, the eerie darkness never failing to comfort him until his ears caught onto an argument he watched as a girl with wild black hair ran out of a building wearing nothing but a hastily put-on shirt and underwear and what looked to be her father chasing after her, his shirt open showing his pot belly and an ugly sneer adorning his face. Naruto growled and stalked after the man from the shadows and watched as he cornered the black-haired girl in the alley. He watched as the man confronted the black-haired girl and he was going to grab her until the girl lashed out with a piece of pipe causing the man to fall to the ground. She looked at him with such utter loathing and hate it caused the pathetic man to piss himself in fear. Now you tremble, you bastard, since you seem so keen on keeping me as your fuck toy since your prune of a wife won't give you any, I think I should remind you and why you shouldn't, don't you think, daddy? He tried to talk, but Rika responded with another bash on the head, beating him with it until his face was a mangled mess and then sodomized him with the rusty and bloody piece of pipe causing the man to gurgle out a low groan of pain. Not so fun now, when you are on the receiving end of it, aren't you, bitch? She spat. However, before she could leave, Naruto decided to make his appearance and he jumped down on the fat bastard's head causing his brains to spray all over Rika and himself. She stared at him in shock as he tilted his head and said, "Did anyone ever tell you, you look cute covered blood?" Which shocked her out of her thoughts and said, "Well, you are the first to do so, so good for you." He smiled at her and began to walk towards her and she was frozen in place until he was nearly face to face with her and she stared into his unblinking dark blue eyes and he just smiled and kissed her cheek, making her violently flinch. What was that for?" she said, grabbing her cheek. "Just 'cause I wanted to. I'll be seeing you around." Naruto then just disappeared, leaving Rika alone. However, he was still watching her as she made her way back to her apartment and saw a bloody mess and she ran inside. It was her mother on the kitchen floor, looking like a piece of mauled meat, and a pill bottle and note was resting neatly on the table. "She's all yours to deal with, kill her or let her die, your choice. The pills are something to make sure you don't have the bastard's child." Naruto, huh? Rika whispered, but the woman on the floor heard her and whimpered causing Rika to look at her. The mother begged her to help her, but Rika turned to the table and popped 2 pills inside and downed it with a glass of water, and when she finished, she smashed the glass cup against the counter and grabbed the largest glass shard like a dagger and turned her attention to her bleeding mother. "Rika-chan? Please, no, I'm your mother," the woman rasped. "You aren't my mother. A mother is supposed to protect their daughters and you allowed your husband to use me as a fuck toy and guess what, he's dead and will join him, in hell." Rika snapped before stabbing her mother repeatedly before slitting her throat, spraying her with blood as she watched the light out of her mother's eyes die out. Rika breathed in and out and she walked to the bathroom and cleaned herself up and made her way towards her bedroom and fell asleep. "Good girl, this will be the start of a wonderful relationship," Naruto whispered before disappearing with the wind. Naruto silently awakes from his slumber and finds himself within Tsunade's comforting grasp, her boobs pressed against his cheek. He silently sighed as he listened to her heart beating from within her chest and started to slowly untangle himself from her arms. She slightly frowned in her sleep as tried to search for Naruto's source of warmth, and knowing she would wake up before he could what he wanted, he brought himself closer to her, to which she wrapped her arms around him with a sigh. He planted a kiss on the purple diamond in the center of her forehead. The results were interesting to say the least. Tsunade's genjutsu was broken, briefly showing her old age. until the chakra Naruto implanted into her seal started to change her body, rejuvenating it, making it younger and stronger than before. She looked the same as she did in her prime, just a lot stronger with more benefits. Her hair grew longer to where it reached her lower back, slightly curly with dark strawberry highlights. Her fair skin became flawless, her shirt couldn't really fit her new bust size and they popped out of it with a tear. My, I can see why the pervert is smitten with her, sexually, but that is no excuse to try to peek on her in the hot springs. That's just rude and pathetic, two things real kunoichis would not tolerate. Naruto inwardly tooted, before laying down, closing his eyes and waited for the pervert to arrive. Soon after, he settled into his position of being Tsunade's blanket. The door opened and Jiraiya entered, looking over his notes, and when he looked towards the bed, expecting to find Naruto resting alone, he found Tsunade. She was lightly breathing with different hair and her breasts out of her shirt, holding onto a sleeping Naruto as if he was a cuddle toy. What the hell? Jiraiya snapped, waking up Tsunade quickly, her breasts proudly on display, much to Jiraiya's pleasure as his nose was now gushing fountains of blood. A groan made the two sages turn to find Naruto rising up from where he fell on the floor, rubbing his head and said, "Damn it, pervert, do you always scream first thing in the morning?" Tsunade then realizes why she feels suddenly cold and mechanically turns to face the pervert and punches Jiraiya out of the hotel they were staying in with him, saying, "That punch was worth it." Not realizing he dropped the notebook when he took off via Tsunade Punching Airlines. One punch lands you anywhere in the elemental countries, depending on how far you piss her off. Regardless, Tsunade threw off the blanket she was resting with and stretched, as Naruto came up to her and fixed her shirt to a better position, to where she would still have some modesty. "Thank you, Naruto," she said, giving him a hug, which he slowly returned. "You are welcome, Tsunade," he answered back, before being released from her hug. "I feel different, I don't know why, but I do," she slightly yawned, shrugging off the remains of her sleep. "Come with me," he said, grabbing her hand and leading her to the bathroom. Tsunade first saw her hair was different with strawberry highlights. As she ran her fingers through her hair, she found that it was thicker than it was yesterday. She also realized she wasn't wearing her genjutsu, shocking her. "You are wondering why, aren't you?" he asked, simply, as he was sitting on the bathroom counter. She looked at him and waited for his explanation, and he replied, "I put a bit of my chakra into your seal on your forehead, causing it to break your genjutsu and give you your new appearance. Without the use of genjutsu, this is how you really look," shocking her completely. How? Tsunade stuttered, unable to comprehend how he was able to do that. He pulled her closer and kissed her forehead, right where her seal was, making her blush before pulling back. "Understand now?" he questioned softly. "Yeah, thank you," she replied. "Well, who's going to use the shower first?" "Regardless, I don't care, but I'd rather not have to piece the pervert back together if you decide to shatter his every bone for peeking on you in the bath," he replied, getting off the counter. "Actually, I have an idea." Tsunade grinned. Naruto raises an eyebrow, but when Tsunade takes off her shirt and drops it on the floor, it gave Naruto an inkling of what she wanted to do with him. Several minutes later, Jiraiya comes back into the room, returning from Tsunade Punching Airlines, and finds that the water to the bathroom is running and Naruto is nowhere in sight. He decided to a chance and peeked into the bathroom to find a sight he both loved and hated. It was Naruto in Tsunade's lap in the bathtub, being washed by her, fully naked and covered in suds. Jiraiya could barely believe it, but he felt anger and jealousy well up in the pit of his stomach as he watched the two. Naruto smirked at him from his position before slamming the door shut. He chuckled in remembrance of the miserable look on Jiraiya's face and said, "I see why you wanted me to enter the bath with you, that's hilarious." He smirked at the woman running her hands through his hair. "I told you," she smiled, pressing her breasts into his back. The two bask in the warmth of each other and the soapy water until Tsunade asks a question that is on her mind. "Naruto? Do I still have to become Hokage?" "No, you don't, I won't force you. However, I'd rather not have Danzo of all people lead the village because he wants me as a weapon, and the old man gave me permission to leave if Danzo ever became Hokage." "Would you truly leave Konoha?" Tsunade questioned. "Yes, I would. The village hasn't really done anything for me and I have 2 girls and several others that would come with me." "Then, can you make space for me to join you?" Tsunade said, making him freeze. What? He questioned, looking up at her. If you have to leave, I'm coming with you. I'll be damned if I have to go back there with no family. The village will stand, but family comes and goes, and I want to be with my family if you will let me, she finished softly. Naruto turned to her, looking into brown eyes and said, the more, the merrier. He smiled. He was rewarded with a sweet smile and a hug before the two decided to get out of the tub after washing all the soap and suds off their bodies. The two then left the bathroom and got changed into different clothes for the day, and they left the sobbing man on the floor, weeping for his precious notebook and the material he could make with it, and the pair went downstairs for some breakfast. Naruto? Am I the only one who knows about that? The two girls know, Junko, and the Yato clan along with the Uzumaki. Not even the old man knows, and I would like to keep it that way. Hell knows what that old man would do if he knew. Naruto trailed off in a whisper, before having Tsunade lead the way for breakfast. What Naruto didn't know, was that the source of his suffering would be spilling her guts to the one man he didn't want his story of his abuse to be told to, and so would change the course of ninja history. Konoha, Hokage Tower. Hiruzen is doing paperwork and a knock is heard on his door and said, "Come in," he said, not even looking up, and when the door opened his semi-smiling face became shocked before turning into a grim line. "Hey, old monkey," she said, looking sheepishly at Hiruzen. "Kushina," he whispered, putting his pen down on his desk. "Aren't you going to invite me in?" she asked, quietly. "Cut the bullshit and get in here," he said, seriously, wondering where the hell was she when she could take care of Naruto when he was smaller. "Everyone please, leave the room," he said, softly, and 5 slight snaps went off and Hiruzen waiting, before sighing and flung 2 kunai, one behind him and one above him, showing 2 dead bodies of Danzo Zabnu. He sent them to the TI unit and focused all his attention of Kushina. "Where the hell were you?" he snapped at the woman he thought of a surrogate daughter. She looked down and he felt something bad well up in the pit of his stomach. "If you won't tell me, then I will call Inoichi," he told her. She was still silent, which caused him to sigh, and he called for Inoichi to come to his office immediately. The blonde interrogator arrived into the Hokage's office and was shocked senseless at seeing one of his best friends among the living. "Kushina-senpai." Kushina winced at hearing the voice of the young man she took under her wing. She knew that he would never see her the same again after this. "She will not tell me why she has returned. Inoichi, please enter her mind and tell me what you see." "Yes, Hokage-sama," Inoichi saluted, before saying, "Psycho mind transmission." He placed a hand on her forehead and read her mind and everything that available for his use. He ended the technique and shakily removed his hand from her forehead and looked down, not wanting to see the woman he used to have so much respect for. "Not right now. Inoichi-kun," slap. "Inoichi!" Hiruzen yelled, but Inoichi ignored him and yelled at Kushina, "How could you? To your own son. Inoichi Yamanaka." Hiruzen shouted, close to snapping at the two of them, "Sir." Inoichi then explained in detail, slightly stumbling over the more gruesome parts, and then when he finished, he wanted to get wasted to get the memories of Naruto's screaming voice out of his head. "I owe that kid one hell of an apology when he shows up," Inoichi thought, as he needed to tell Shikaku and Choza, along with telling my daughter to give the kid some space whenever he returns. "You are dismissed, Inoichi," Hiruzen said, softly. He nodded, but not without glaring at the major fuck-up of a woman he considered a sister. When the door closed, Hiruzen slowly turned to face the red-headed woman. "Give me one reason. Why I shouldn't kill you, right now," Hiruzen growled, looking like he was inches away from choking her to death. "Please, I wasn't in the right state of mind," she said, as tears welled up in her eyes. "Wrong answer," he yelled, summoning Emma in his staff form and smashing her through his window, whipping off his Hokage robes, in his battle gear, and went to deliver more pain to Kushina. He screamed at her, "How dare you show your face here!" He smashed his bow staff into her stomach, slamming her into a building. "You could have loved him," he yelled, missing her head by scant inches. "Please understand," she said, trying to avoid his fury-filled strikes. "No. Do you know how much he wanted someone to love him? Do you know how it felt to see a boy you considered a grandson nearly burnt alive?" he yelled, shocking Kiba, Chuji, and Shikamaru, who was among the crowd watching Hiruzen attack Kushina. Do you know what's like to see a young boy who just wanted to be happy, have his childhood cruelly torn away from him by civilians who didn't understand a kunai sealed into a scroll? Do you know how many times I had to stop his assassinations or his suicide attempts, and that was when he was only 4. Once more shocking the 3 rookies as he caught her in the stomach, making her hack up a glob of blood. You disgust me. If I had to make a full pardon between you or Itachi Uchiha, I choose the Uchiha, he said, slamming her down to earth with each enunciation of his sentence, her broken body forming a crater in the middle of the village. Hiruzen then jumped to the Hokage tower and stood on the roof of it and shouted, "All of you should be ashamed. Both civilians and ninja for targeting a young boy to use as your stress reliever. But here's the thing, and I hope you all go to hell when you die for trying to kill an innocent boy. He is the son of Minato Namikaze. That's right, the boy you spat on, crippled, tortured, and tried to kill is the son of your 4th Hokage." The silence was deafening before screams of panic and denial came out and people were begging that it was not true, but it was. People were running around like a bunch of headless chickens, and Hiruzen didn't have it in him to give a damn. He plopped down into his chair and let out a sigh of relief, and it was answered by an empty chuckle coming from the shadows of his office, and he turned around to see Junko Uzumaki, or now Junko Yado, the head of the Yado clan. Hiruzen thought he would feel the same type of foreboding he would always get whenever she was near him, but he felt nothing and just didn't have any will to care. Well, nicely done, old monkey," she said, sitting herself down on his desk. "Only you would say such a thing, Junko," Hiruzen said to the smirking woman. Kushina was taken to the hospital, and only because of her Uzumaki healing powers that she survived Hiruzen's brutal onslaught. By now, the news would be traveling all over the village, and Ino, getting the information from around the village, and had a talk with her dad, who gave her the extreme bare thread and sugar-coated version of Naruto's torment and how it was true, made Ino rush to the toilet to puke. After hogging the toilet for 30 minutes, she thought, "I'm so sorry, Naruto, I will make it up to you, I promise." Unknown to her, several others were on the same wavelength as Ino and needed to talk to Naruto when he got back. Rika was eating at the ramen stand, paying a visit whenever Naruto was unable to, and one of the customers was talking about Naruto's abuse and how he would apologize whenever he got the chance to see him. Rika could only silently snort, knowing that Naruto would rather eat his own liver than to forgive these pieces of crap who only now that they know he is the son of the 4th do they kiss his ass. Be safe, Naru. I have a feeling you are not going to like what the civilians are planning for you for when you come back, Rika thought to herself before counting down the days Naruto would come back. Hinata, on the other hand, was eating lunch in her clan's dining room, her thoughts switching from her training schedule, sparring with Rika, and the stormy thoughts of what was going to happen between Naruto and the villagers. She was fully certain she would choose Naruto over her family, considering what he did for her. Kushina, Hinata thought with a growl. The evil woman could not even begin to be called a mother, who would use their own flesh and blood like that. Well, except the Hyugas, but still, I hope Naruto rips off your head and I get to see it. Hinata finished off, darkly. She sighed as she finished off her meal and went to her bedroom to look outside and whispered, "Please be safe, Naruto-kun." She would tell Naruto when he comes back from his mission with the Toad Sage. 3 days later, Rain Village, Akatsuki hideout. "Everyone is here?" "Yes, Pain," Conan said. "Yes, leader," the rest of the group said. "What is the status of the Kyuubi container?" Pain ordered. "Yes, apparently Kushina Uzumaki is alive," Sasori said, shocking the group. "The red-headed demon is alive?" Kisame said, tightening his grip on his sword, itching for a fight. Itachi kept his icy, emotionless face on, keeping his surprise hidden, even though Toby could see it as clear as day. "What does that have to do with the Kyuubi container?" Conan said. "Naruto Uzumaki is the son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze," Sasori said, closing his eyes waiting for certain members to start cursing. He wasn't disappointed. Several members screamed outrage, shock, and curses, mostly from Haiden before Pain silenced them. "Explain, Sasori." Sasori then explained with the information that he obtained from his sources from Konoha, from Kushina arrival, her beatdown from Hiruzen, and his announcement of Naruto Uzumaki as Minato Namikaze's son, which left the group in shock. "Dismissed," Pain said, and for once everyone didn't argue, and one by one they cut the connection, Itachi made his way from Kisame to think as he flashed back to first meeting Naruto in a long time. Those eyes, cold, dead, and focused, along with his power. No child can go from a bright orange screaming to the heavens Moran to a cold and dead-eyed shinobi without some type of tragic incident, and a mother abandoning him would make him cold, but not dead-eyed. So, what happened between Naruto Uzumaki and Kushina Uzumaki to make him too ruthless? Itachi softly said to himself as he looked up at the sky above him. How long has he been this way, and how could nobody have seen it? Itachi wondered. Tsunade then goes on a drink with Jiraiya, which leads to her knocking him out with drugs, so he would get out of the way so she could meet up with Orochimaru. Tensaku Quarters. Tsunade meets up with Orochimaru, who says, "So you decided to side with me? I bet your new changes." "I won't side with you, I just want you out of my life," she said, ignoring his questioning tone for the second part of his sentence, her hands glowing a greenish-blue hue as she made her way towards the smirking snake Sannin. However, Kabuto slashed at her with a kunai and taking a defensive stance before Orochimaru. "So, Tsunade, you decided to betray me?" Orochimaru asked. "There is nothing to betray if I didn't side with you first," Tsunade replied. Orochimaru chuckled and said, "We will bring you by force, then, Kabuto?" Kabuto then goes to attack Tsunade, and in which Tsunade defends herself and attacks him in turn. The battle goes in Tsunade's favor when she manages to land a hit on him with her body pathway derangement technique. However, she watches in slight fascination and horror as he fixes himself with his knowledge of the human body. He cuts his hand and flicks his blood onto her face, making her go into shock, and he damaged her hamstring in her left leg. When the loyal ninja of Orochimaru charged at Tsunade to knock her unconscious, he is blindsided from the left that made his head spin. He turned around to see the emotionless face of Naruto Uzumaki staring down at him. "Naruto Uzumaki?" Kabuto said, in shock. Naruto didn't reply and kicked Kabuto further away from Tsunade's prone form that was still in shock from blood being splashed on her as he wrapped his hands around her and whispered to her, "You are not there. Tsunade, come to reality, come back to me." Tsunade snapped out of her shock to find Naruto holding her as he looked at Kabuto and Orochimaru observing the pair. "I'm fine, thanks. Deal with the snake fucker, Tsunade." "I'll deal with his bitch boy," Naruto said, coldly. Tsunade wipes off Kabuto's blood off her face and glares at Orochimaru's smug face as she healed the damaged hamstring in her left leg. Naruto vs. Kabuto. Kabuto stands up looking at the silent, emotionless form of Naruto Uzumaki, everything from the perky, orange, sunshine blonde dead last that screamed that he wanted to be Hokage, and how the person in front was that dead last's extreme opposite. "Come on, Kabuto, do not tell me that one kick is all it takes to shock you into a stupor," Naruto said. "You little shit," Kabuto sneered before going to attack Naruto, who met him head-on, attacking the cool-faced genin with a pair of chakra-enhanced kunais. Tsunade then attacks Orochimaru, who with his flexibility and fighting prowess allowed him to avoid her mountain-crushing strikes, and then Jiraiya entered the fray with Shizune at his side, who healed him, getting into the fight between Tsunade and Orochimaru and Shizune backing up Naruto. Finally, 3 Sannin used the summoning jutsu, enveloping the area in smoke before dissipating, and 3 large summons stood across each other. Manda, the snake boss. Gamabunta, the toad boss. Katsuyu, the slug boss. My, how interesting, Naruto thought, looking at the stare-down between the 3 sages. Naruto Kyuubi said. Yes, I know," Naruto thought to his companion before biting into his hand and slamming down on the ground and making his own summon. Enveloping himself in smoke and what stood before the 3 boss summons was something that made them feel fear run down their spines. Kyuubi Gamabunta said. "Hey, you tadpole, I see you still have the scar from so long ago," Kyuubi said with a smirk. "Naruto?" Tsunade said, looking at the boy who was standing on the head of the demon that nearly destroyed Konoha. "Orochimaru. You didn't tell me you were facing the Kyuubi. You will serve me many sacrifices for this." Manda snapped. "Of course, Manda," Orochimaru said in a silky tone. "This isn't good. If Manda finds out that Orochimaru cannot use his hands, he will easily turn on us," Kabuto thought with slight worry over this upcoming battle.